Historic Watkins Glen in upstate New York. This track is often called the super speedway of road courses, where speeds can reach upwards of 180 miles an hour on a very narrow track. And when you add in some postseason playoff pressure, you have all the ingredients for an action-filled race number 2 of the Cup Series playoffs. Welcome, everyone, to Countdown to Green, presented by Sonic from Watkins Glen, one of the best fan events of the year. With sold-out grandstands, temperatures around 80 degrees. What's not to love, Steve Letarte?
Well, listen, you talk about ingredients, the fans. That's the key ingredient to Watkins Glen, is the fans cheering on the pressure of the playoffs and NASCAR in town.
Yeah, this is a party. It's always been a party since long as we've been coming here. There's a race here. They get all fired up about that. Fine places to watch it, but it is a good time at this racetrack.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the front of the grid here at Watkins Glen. They have been racing here since 1948, along with Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton. I'm Marty Snyder. So 75 years of history, Jeff, but this is the first time Watkins Glen is in the playoffs. How does that change the playoff landscape?
It's a game changer. That means that every lap matters, every mistake matters, and it's right now, and everybody knows the pressure that's on them. And you also stack this race right behind Atlanta and right before Bristol, and it makes this race even that much more important.
And to add to all of that, Steve, some big-name drivers are facing a possible early elimination from the playoffs. At 19 below the cut line, Martin Truex Jr., we know he's in trouble right now. But Kyle Larson just plus 15. Is he in trouble?
So maybe I'm optimistic, but I'm not worried for Kyle Larson. He's only 15 above because he got in a wreck, not his own doing, but a big wreck at Atlanta. I think he's good here at Watkins Glen. I think he's going to be okay if he can just run all the laps, finish like he should. And I know there's concern for Truex at 19 below, but he's done the job early. Qualifying second, he should get stage points, hopefully make up those 19 points. Shockingly, I'll stick on the champion train. How about Ryan Blaney? I know he's 45 above, but starting 30th, he just has to avoid early issues. It should be okay, but I've seen should go bad quickly.
So, Jeff, when you look at those playoff points on the left-hand side of your screen, where's the line in the sand for drivers that are good for now and drivers that are in trouble?
Right below that number 22. Like everybody else is scared, right? Joey Logano, he knows he's in, he won, he moves on. But everything Steve just said, I agree with. Blaney all the way down to Byron, they should be okay. But we just talked about it. You got Watkins Glen and Bristol back-to-back. Nobody feels safe coming into this race.
Well, to Jeff's point, as of now, only one driver is truly safe. That's Joey Logano, thanks to his big win at Atlanta last Sunday.
We kind of look forward to this part of the year. I always say pressure is a privilege because you got to earn the pressure.
That's how we start the playoffs, boys!
Incredible execution from the team. When it's playoff time, it's our time.
You have to be able to find another gear when it comes to this time of the year.
Hell of a job there, Joe.
It's so tough, it's so competitive, it's down to the little details. The guys that can perform and not make mistakes when it comes down to a situation like it was today at the end of this race are the ones that always find their way fighting for the championship.
Way to stay patient all day, keep us in it.
Moving on to the next round is great, but this is week 1 of 10. We just started. There's a long ways to go, and it's going to be a lot harder from here. I'd really like to win more races during the regular season. I'd really love to do that, but pressure seems to affect people differently. In some cases, pressure makes people crack. In other cases, pressure makes people better.
Bring it to the line, let's go!
I'd rather live a stressful life with the opportunity of doing something big than relaxed and just riding around out there. The goal every time the playoffs start is how do we keep the pressure on for 10 weeks?
Catching up here with Joey Logano, who won last week at Atlanta. We talk often about the pressure of these 3-race playoffs. The best way to alleviate that pressure, win. So now, what do we focus on?
Playoff points. I mean, that's what it's about now. I mean, and still, you know, if we don't make the championship 4, which I don't even like thinking that way, the points will matter. But I think at this stage of the playoffs and being able to win last week, it's about how do we get playoff points. That's stage wins or a race win. So, yeah, I think we got a car that can compete and maybe do one of those. Hopefully so. If not, strategy is always an option here when you come to these road courses too. So we'll do what we can with our Shell Penzo Mustang. And it's a lot less pressure, though. It's a lot more fun because you only have much to lose and a lot to gain still. So it's a fun way to race.
Sounds like a great place to be. He'll roll off 7th, Kim.
Well, Parker, Martin Truex Jr. enters this race minus 19 to the elimination line. You need points, but you also have a car that can win. Starting second, how do you approach today?
I'm not sure exactly yet. It's going to be interesting, but you know, really proud of the team. You know, our research Camry's really fast, and you know, if we can keep it from falling off a little bit more, I think we'll have a good shot. But it's really all going to be about when do you put tires on, when do you pit, and don't get caught by those stinking cautions. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. James has a plan, and hopefully it works out.
Marty, Martin Truex Jr. is a 5-time road course winner, including right here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and starts second today, Kim. So just one race into the Cup Series playoffs, Jeff. And what surprised you? Because there was a lot of movement after the Atlanta race.
Denny Hamlin shocked me. The decision to ride around in the back, try to protect himself, and just get enough points to roll out of there. I get it. He was scared. He didn't have any good draft and track races all year long. However, he's third worst in points earned on road courses this year of all the playoff guys. So why all of a sudden does he think he's going to get enough points today to make that strategy work last week?
What surprises me is how quickly it can change. Let's look at Denny's teammate Ty Gibbs leading in the front 2 rows at the end of that race. The restart goes the wrong way. Next thing you know, he loses a ton of points, comes in here only 1 point above. Remember, there'll be 30, 35 cars on the lead lap at the end of this race. Yeah. You could have an issue in the last corner and lose 30 points.
Hey, Steve, if we ever want to come to a party, I know a place. And I know a few folks are mostly in the infield here at Watkins Glen. Totally sold out for the 9th straight year. When we come back, we'll discuss Hendrick Motorsports, why they've been so dominant here at the Glen, and can they win their 6th straight? We'll talk about it next. You're watching Countdown to Green, presented by Sonic. Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sonic. Live free, eat Sonic. Here's what's on the menu presented by Sonic. Kyle Larson is back for the double once again. Errol McLaren and Hendrick Motorsports have agreed to another year of the Indy 500 Coca-Cola 600 double for Larson. But Rick Hendrick made it very clear the priority in 2025 will be the race in Charlotte. Ross Chastain is on the pole here at the Glen today. Also gives the one team the very critical first pit stall this afternoon. And after the first race of the playoffs, Brad Keselowski, Harrison Burton, Martin Truex Jr., and Chase Briscoe are below the playoff cutoff line. 4 will be eliminated after Bristol's race next week. In the race here at the Glen last year, there was no question who the dominant driver was.
All right, let's take a look. Watkins Glen 2023.
34 sitting this lap.
This was a great race for us. We had a really fast car, and on that day, clean air is really big.
Clean air here for a lap.
We were able to have a really good green flag sequence there.
Go, 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 go. Hard, 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 hard.
We went 1 extra lap, which typically isn't the move, but at a track with no fall off, we were able to get a clean track.
Your blend line clear by 5.
And have really good lap time and kind of check out from there.
2.75, 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. 1 more right here. White. Hell yeah, boys. Woo-hoo-hoo! Nice work. Great team. Thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo!
Watkins Glen is just a badass place to win because you have so many fans in the stands and they're on both sides of the track. So it's just a super cool place.
Hell yeah. Good job, guys.
This was my favorite win of last year, honestly. It was really cool.
Awesome job, guys. First round course win. Go! Woo!
You know, as much as we had a great race there last year, I think it's going to take something a little different this year.
That was the 5th straight Hendrick Motorsports win at Watkins Glen. So, Jeff, in this day and age, how can one team be so dominant for so long?
Yeah, dedication, commitment, and a lot of talent. Not only behind the wheel, but also the guys making decisions. And, you know, that's what Hendrick Motorsports is. They know how to win races. They've done it. They won championships. They've committed to road course racing, and the results show.
Well, the results show, but the challenge will be a little different. Heading into the Glen this week, a lot of conversation about the track. They changed some runoffs in turn 1 or turn 5. Turned out in practice not to be a big deal. The curbing in the bus stop also has been adjusted. Drivers adapted really well. The big question mark still, the Goodyear tires, much softer. And they have a lot of grip to start. They lose a lot of grip. Marty, they slow down over 2 seconds in like 10 or 15 laps. So the drivers are going to have to deal with it. Engineers and crew chiefs are going to have to call a different style race.
Safe to say, yeah, strategy will be way different today, Steve. So with all that said, how do the DraftKings odds shape up for the Glen?
Well, shocking, maybe not shocking. SVG at the top. He's the favorite. Larson up there as well. We talked about the Hendrick dominance. I think the value is near the bottom. Michael McDowell looked amazing in practice. I think he is a great mid-tier to somewhat long shot, great pace in the 34.
This week on DraftKings Sportsbook, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $250 in bonus bets instantly to use on any sport, whether it's this race or tonight's Sunday night football game. Download the app and use a promo code SPEED when you sign up. A.J. Allmendinger is plus 1,200 according to DraftKings. How does he feel about his chances today? Let's find out with Kim Kuhn.
Well, Marty, Steve mentioned that new tire here today. I was talking to AJ earlier. He said it is the trickiest tire he has ever had here. So how is that going to affect the race and what you have to do behind the wheel?
I mean, I think it's going to make it a great race, but it's hard to try to figure out, okay, how hard to run early, how much to save, because the tire's definitely going to fall off. You know, I felt like yesterday this Go Bowling Chevy was pretty dialed in. Good qualifying run, but yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things. I think if you over-abuse the tire early, you're going to pay a huge price for it. So that makes it tough on the driver, but that also makes it fun.
Sounds like it's going to be a great race. Marty, he rolls off from the 6th position.
For a chance to win a VIP grand prize bowling trip for 2 to Charlotte alongside NASCAR drivers A.J. Allmendinger and Eric Almirola, visit gobowling.com. So earlier today, professional bowlers Kyle Sherman, Brad Miller, and Verite Crawley were hanging out with a NASCAR fan. Steve, if they spotted you 150 pins, do you think you could keep in the game with them?
Maybe 200. Maybe 200 pins.
You would need 200 to make that happen.
Yeah.
Look at the skill from those guys. Just fun stuff to watch. We're closing in on the green flag in race number 2 of the Cup Series playoffs. It's the 9th straight year. It's a sellout here at Watkins Glen. The fans clearly love this place, Jeff, but some drivers maybe not so much. Who are a few playoff drivers not looking forward to today?
Well, if you looked at the numbers, Chase Briscoe and Harrison Burton, neither one of those have been successful road course racing this year. However, if you get a chaotic race, that might help them recover some of the damage from last week.
Yeah, and that new tire certainly going to throw everyone for a loop as well. Time for today's pre-race ceremonies.
Please rise as you are able, remove your hats, and veterans render a hand salute as the New York State Police Troop E Color Guard presents our nation's colors. Here to offer today's invocation, please welcome Pastor Brady Bond.
Let's pray. Jesus, your word says every good thing comes from you. So we thank you for today, the beautiful weather, for this race that means so much to this community. Would you guide and protect the drivers and their crew? And Jesus, I thank you that you came not to condemn the world, but to save the world because you love us. And we pray that your kingdom would come and your will would be done here at Watkins Glen International as it is in heaven. Amen.
Here to perform the Canadian National Anthem, please welcome Nashville singer, songwriter, and recording artist, Sydney Irving. This up-and-coming country artist has over 120 million streams, appeared on CMT, and shared stages with Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, and more. Here to perform the Star-Spangled Banner, Claudia Heuser.
The playoff pressure is already setting in with some big names facing early elimination. How desperate could things get? We'll get the engines cranked for race number 2 of the Cup Series playoffs next here on USA. Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sonic. Live free. Eat Sonic.
Get that second flag, son. Rocket's clear, baby. Hell yeah. Whoa. Got an issue here. Damn it. Yeah, buddy. Gave him an ass whooping today. Yeah, baby, yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Woo! Good job, bud. Pretty incredible. Woo-hoo-hoo! Nice work. Hell yeah, boys. They're beating on each other really hard ahead. Down your toes. That's how we start the playoffs, boys.
Despite being at plus 24 to the elimination line, Chase Elliott and this team are racing like their lives depend on it. Crew Chief Alan Gustafson told me they're approaching this almost like a must-win situation because there is no margin for error in the playoffs. He said this round of tracks is the perfect storm for some wild stuff to happen. Plus, the drivers below them could easily win one of these next 2 races. So they cannot play it safe here today. Parker Chase Elliott starts from the 14th position.
Right, Kim, and that's a veteran, but how about a young driver, 21 years old for Ty Gibbs, comes in this race +1 above the cut line. And speaking to his crew chief, Chris Gale, he pointed out something very interesting. This is Ty's first playoff appearance. He said we could see the relief in Ty when we made the playoffs. And now we told him, and the mentality for this race team is to do the things that got us in the playoffs. If we're able to do that, maybe we don't have a winning car today, but if we can put ourselves in a position that Bristol, we just have points that allow us to point our way in with a solid run, then we're doing exactly what we need to do, Marty.
Parker, today will be an interesting day for Tyler Reddick. Many people felt like Reddick had the best car in practice, but they surprisingly only qualified 16th for the race. His crew chief, Billy Scott, told me we just missed it on our qualifying adjustments, but we have a plan to get our track position back. Even though he starts mid-pack, don't count Tyler Reddick out of the mix for the win. Parker, let's bring you back in. So with the new tire, all the changes to the track, how do you manage all the unknowns as a driver?
Well, Marty, it's a great point, and I think one of the things is, as a driver, that's where you have to adapt, and you have to have that mind share open to adapt and find yourself in a position where you're identifying things to do something different. That's the key.
And these crew chiefs just have no idea what's going to happen today, which makes it fun for all of us and everyone at home. Let's get the engines cranked for race number 2 of the Cup Series playoffs.
Glen International. This is a moment you have been waiting for. Please welcome from the Bowling Proprietors Association of America, Board of Director Mike Logan, along with PBA and PWBA Pro Bowlers, Brad Miller, Kyle Sherman, and Verity Crawley.
Drivers, start your engines!
Viewers, I am standing in what I believe is one of the most unique corners in all of American motorsports, and especially for NASCAR. You approach turn 1 here at Watkins Glen at around 160 miles an hour into a downhill braking zone. You see that curve on the inside? You think you want to get there, and you will get there, but it's what you do after that, where I'm standing out here on the outside. This runoff will actually use all this. NASCAR tried to put these grooves in the racetrack to stop the drivers, but oh no. We still find ourselves out here because there's so much speed to be had if you are risking running all the way out here to the edge of the track. We'll see which drivers do it best. We come back.
The NASCAR playoff run continues.
At Watkins Glen, the race unfolds 11 turns at a time.
A story spun in 90 chapters. A 221-mile Legends quest. Around each turn, there will be drama, thrills, and spills.
Oh, he creamed it.
There will
there'll be heroes and villains.
After this wild cast of characters strap into their seats,
we hope you will be on the edge of yours.
Keep that thing clean, then we'll go to the front.
because we're all on this ride together.
Go, 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 go!
As this story plays out in real time,
Clear by 5.
There's no foreshadowing how the plot will unfold.
Rockets clear, baby!
All we know is that in the end, history will be written.
That's one of many right here.
History could indeed be written here today. You know, it's just race number 2 of the 2024 Cup Series playoffs, but you can already feel the playoff pressure. There are some big names in the sport that are in serious jeopardy of not advancing to the next round. Throw in the mix of the unknowns of the new tire, and you have a lot of teams and drivers who have no idea how this race is going to play out today at the NASCAR's fastest road course, Kim.
Well, Marty, I'm in the Turn 1 grandstands. These fans have the perfect view of one of the most action-packed corners of the racetrack. You heard Parker talk about it. It's downhill, it's bumpy, it's heavy braking. We've even seen drivers punt each other in this turn. That's what these fans want. Hot tempers in Turn 1. Bagley, we've seen races won and lost in this corner.
And once you leave Turn 1, it's to the S's. Turns 2, 3, and 4. This is a make-or-break portion of this racetrack. If you nail it, you carry a lot of speed, and you are obviously able to put a good lap in. But if you blow it, your day could be done if it happens at the wrong time. Dylan?
Mike, I'm at the end of the back straightaway at the exit of the bus stop. This is a tricky set of corners that are imperative if you get right. You need a car that can change directions quickly and comfortably. That'll take you out of the bus stop and into the carousel, the long 180-degree right-hand turn that leads you back to the front stretch. But first, they get to turn 6 in front of Jeff Burton.
Yeah, when they come off that carousel, they're absolutely flying, using all of the racetrack. And turn 6 is a great passing opportunity. You can get side by side, kind of push somebody off the road. If you don't clear them, though, you turn it going into turn 7, and turn 7 is one of the tightest, fast corners in all of NASCAR.
New York's Finger Lakes District is such a beautiful place to visit any time of the year, but especially when NASCAR is in town. Motorsport in Watkins Glen was established with sports cars, made famous by Formula One. But more than any form of racing, it's been NASCAR's road racing home, and now it's in the playoffs for the very first time. NBC Sports welcomes you to the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs from Watkins Glen International. It's time for the Go Bowling at the Glen. Second race of the 2024 playoffs. Hi folks, Lee Diffie along with Steve Letarte. Steve, I just outlaid the history here. You know it all too well. But is this going to be one of those days, considering that it's the first time that Glen has been in the playoffs? At season's end, we look back and say, wow, that was really the wild card race.
We've taken an anchor race and put it in a monumental moment of the playoffs in the middle of the first round. And I think this will absolutely be a circuit that we look back on, and the championship will have steered or veered at one of these 7 corners. The biggest stars know to kind of up their game when it comes to Watkins Glen. Ross Chastain sat on the pole and tried to upset the playoff drivers. But which one of those guys with everything on the line, with those yellow spoilers, playoff drivers, who will make today their day?
Well, you speak about Chastain on the pole. Let's take a look at the starting grid for today's playoff race, brought to you by Go Bowling. And it's just the second Cup career pole for Ross Chastain. And there he sits alongside a Watkins Glen winner in Martin Truex Jr.
You see the names in blue. Those are our playoff drivers. Truex, Bowman, Cindric, Suarez, all inside the top 10. But they're spread throughout the field. It was anything but straightforward for the playoff guys. Byron and Briscoe make up row 6.
Keep looking for those drivers whose names are highlighted in blue. They're the playoff drivers. The yellow of Joey Logano, you saw earlier, the only one locked in to the next round. And yes, there are some big names further back.
This is where the pressure mounts. Row 14, Keselowski. Row 15, Ryan Blaney. You're going to have to make something happen right away if you want to get there. Harrison Burton, row 17, next to who else? But old JPM, Juan Pablo Montoya, has graced NASCAR again. So much fun, and impressed me in practice. He's going to be one to watch.
It's terrific to have JPM back in the Cup Series, even if it is just for a one-off. We're getting close to the drop of the green. Before we get there, let's check back in with Marty Snyder. Marty?
Talk about Atlanta last week for Austin Cindric. When I talked to his crew chief diff earlier this week, Brian Wilson, he said that was maybe one of the best Cup Series races I've seen Austin manage. They gained a lot of points above the cut line, and they come in here with a very good car this weekend as well. Another shot to get a nice top 10 for Austin Cindric. Many people, Parker, had him out of the first round, but it looks like the two teams so far has the speed to possibly advance.
Right, Marty. Another team that might have surprised people is the 99 team of Daniel Suarez after finishing second at Atlanta. They entered this race plus 22 in the cut line, but after qualifying 8th today and his teammate on the pole, this team may be in a possible conundrum. Do you go for points, or if you feel like you have the speed and the opportunity and strategy presents itself, do you risk it and go for the win? I spoke to Daniel earlier, and he told me it is definitely on our mind as we see how this whole race plays out, Kim.
Brad Keselowski is winless in his 46 road course races, but of the road courses on the Cup Series circuit, Watkins Glen is by far his best with 3 runner-up finishes here. So I asked playoff driver Brad what it is about Watkins Glen that suits him better than any of the other road courses. He told me it is much easier to find his rhythm here. It's fast, it's less technical. Now, he did say he has to drive the track a lot differently than he used to, though, especially with the fall off on that new tire. It's going to be a fight for this team today as they start from the 28th position.
And Kim, he's been part of some epic finishes here at the Glen. Will he be the lead car, seeing that checkered flag first? The Toyota Camry XSE is the official pace car for today's race. There it is.
You can confirm how it runs, too, can't you?
Well,
Bert took us for a little ride in that old Camry. I'll say it handles pretty well around the Glen.
Mr. Burton wasn't all that kind to it, so we knew that it was up to it. That's for sure. So we're getting ready to roll, and Steve and Jeff and Marty and everybody has explained just how crucial it is to do well here. Here's a reminder. We just talked about Brad Keselowski. He's 1 point on the wrong side of that cut line for the next round, the round of 12. Ty Gibbs 1 to the good, and Joey Logano proudly in yellow right at the top.
Well, there's an abundance of stories that you want to cover, and we're going to have to cover in here because you look at Truex all the way down at -19, but you see him right there on the front row. I actually think even though he's in a point deficit, he can make something happen here. He can gain those points back. And all the way up. This is a track, I mentioned in the pre-race, there'll be 30 cars on the lead lap. It can look good. Your driver can have an issue right here in one of the last 2 corners on the last lap, and you could lose 20 or 25 points.
James Small, Martin Truex Jr.'s crew chief, said, it's time that our luck changed. The last couple of races, I mean, Martin made a mistake in Darlington, but last week the car was running well. He was coming through the field, wrong place, wrong time, and got collected. And the car was heavily damaged. So can it be his day? Is today the day that he gets that win, Marty, in his final season as a full-time Cup driver?
Let's talk about another former champion in Ryan Blaney, who starts 30th today. Steve mentioned in the pre-race show an interesting race coming up for this 12 team. I talked to his crew chief, Jonathan Hassler, this morning, and he said, honestly, we just haven't had pace all weekend. So I'm going to kind of do the opposite of what all the other crew chiefs do. If I can collect stage points at any point today, I'm going to take that opportunity. They had a terrific Atlanta race. They wound up 3rd despite some adversity during that race. Can they recover again today here at Watkins Glen, Parker?
And Marty, for Denny Hamlin, the 11 team, it was highly publicized last week because he was quite vocal about it. The fact that he went in that race in Atlanta wanting 20 points because they historically had not done well at super speedways. They only netted 13 points, and Chris Gabehart, his crew chief, told me, you know, we didn't really know about that plan of his, but we supported it because it was founded in logic. It didn't really work out, but he said, we had a meeting on Monday where I told him that's a loser mentality. We didn't hang 54 banners in this race shot with that sort of mentality. We raced to win on the 11 team. They're starting 22nd today, but he told me we have a lot more speed in this car, and we believe we've got great long run speed, which is historically what Denny Hamlin does well. So we'll see if that 11 team's able to get that track position with a winning mentality.
It's a great update, Parker. I like the strategy, just not how they went around it, but this is how you go around the Glen. Turn 1, downhill, heavy braking, a lot of runoff driver left, and you still head downhill diff all the way to turn 2.
By the way, this was recorded on Friday with our chopper. 124 feet of elevation change around these 2.5 miles. Not the longest track, but boy, is it fast and spectacular.
High gear, 5th gear, into the bus stop right here. A quick right, a quick left, and the car almost gets pitched out of the bus stop into the carousel that lasts forever. A long downhill sweeping flat corner.
You're going to hear us talk a lot today about tire degradation and the tire fall off, but you're also going to see us highlight and talk about the marbles, the discarded balls of rubber that are just off the line. And if you see somebody kind of have a strange line and don't come back, you can bet that they got caught in those marbles.
Yeah, once you hit those marbles, it's ice. The car just goes straight. It's like hitting black ice on a country road. You basically are out of control. You're not controlling your vehicle. You just hope when you regain control, it hasn't hit anything quite yet.
Let's have a listen to a last-minute pep talk aboard the 22 of Joey Logano.
Go look at there, guys. Good job last week. Earned a little bit of fun today and get to go for it, so have fun with that. Make the most of it. We'll try to get some bonus points. Have fun. Good luck.
All right, you ready? We're going to use words like fast, frantic, chaotic. It's 20 laps of the first stage, 90 laps in total. But this first stage is going to be all about going for it, establishing yourself and setting yourself up for a good day. The lights are off on the Toyota Camry pace car. The Go Bowling at the Glen is ready to roar into life. It's time to bring the action at one of the best road courses in the world. Ross Chastain, who missed out on making the playoffs, but he might be able to help himself and his teammate. We're racing on a road course in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Let's go here at the Glen. Good start from Chastain, but Shane Van Gisbergen right behind him. Truex coming on the outside with Bowman as well. Great start, Chastain.
Ross Chastain away with the lead, but he can't get too far away. Here's Truex. Truex in the 19 is going to look to his inside in 2. Can't get the job done. 3, now 4-car breakaway up front. They're side by side for 5th. That is Austin Cindric in that orange 2 car. Right now racing side by side as they lead turn 4.
Daniel Suarez right there as well at the back of that duo. Now Austin Cindric peeks out of line on Cindric. This is a race for position just inside the top 5 as they work into the bus stop for the first time. Cindric, the outside lane, that's not preferred through that portion of the bus stop, but is preferred here. Give that spot to Cindric. Now they wreck. Christopher Bell out of the bus stop. Several other cars involved. Looks like Kyle Busch is in there, as well as a few others. Everybody should be able to drive away, but the Busch car is going backwards, headed down the bus stop.
And Denny Hamlin involved in that as well. Jeff, he's coming your way.
Yeah,
and
Denny
the car
Hamlin
doesn't look good.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's coming my way. Kyle Busch, you can see the damage on his car, left rear quarter panel. A lot of smoke on the cars on this back straightaway. Denny Hamlin's car is damaged. Don't know if it's just a flat tire or if it's suspension damage. Caution flies over here. Denny Hamlin rolling by me right now. It's hard for me to know if it's suspension or tire, but smoke coming off of that car.
Ryan Blaney, we mentioned it, starting in the back, needed a clean start, got anything but. Blaney, Hamlin, both involved. Let's take a look, Diff. It's the bus stop. We heard him call it live. 2 wide up front, but they got through there clean. Back here a little bit further, you see a little tire lock up, a little bit of smoke, and then right there, kind of all on his own, the 8 gets spun around, and they pile in. Such a fast area of the racetrack. I thought that the 12 got through clean right there. A little bit of contact. It was interesting because he's down here at the bottom of the screen. I'm not sure what happened. Let's take another look at it.
Corey LaJoie in the 7. Watch on the outside too. Kyle Larson got extremely lucky. That's the moment where Busch gets turned. Christopher Bell, look at him go sideways and around.
What I don't understand is what happens to Blaney. Right, he's right here in the middle, just kind of going out of sight. We see the damage to the 11. Oh, this is on board Ty Gibbs. Oh, I said on his own. That might have been an exaggeration. I do believe the 7 got a little contact with the 8. Got him turned around there.
Here's the view from Hamlin.
Oh, right there. Right at the last minute.
So was that a late hit there from Montoya on Blaney, or had the damage already been done?
I still haven't really seen what happened. Look at Chris Buescher got through. I really haven't seen a good view of what happened to Blaney. I think we kind of see the cause. We see the effect, right? So here's the cause right here. The 7 from the grass over, catches the left rear of the 8 at the top of your screen as they spin. Everybody comes in. Now, right side of the screen, the yellow and white car into Brad Keselowski. Maybe it broke something in the left front. There was heavy contact with Brad, and then it looks like Blaney just goes straight.
Yeah.
So that contact with the driver of the 6 must have been what damaged. Well, here you go. On board, Blaney.
This is what everyone is worried about in the playoffs. Look at all the playoff drivers affected by this. Steve, This started yesterday. You had to unload, have speed, qualify better than you did, and if you were able to execute on that, you are ahead of this wreck.
Yeah, this is one of those that you can label it as bad luck, but if you qualified in the top 10, you kind of created better luck. It looked like Bell got away kind of unscathed. Blaney and Hamlin, I think, are the two playoff drivers that have the most damage.
Here it is again. Marty, let's talk more about Ryan Blaney. What you got?
So Ryan did not explain what happened, but here's the issue. He now has a broken steering column, and it won't steer at all. You see him being towed back to the garage or back to the pit road right now, but the broken steering column is the biggest issue for Ryan Blaney. So you got to wonder, you know, he went off in an odd direction, Steve, if that actually maybe happened before all the wreck happened in front of him.
Well, and towing him back, he's done, right? The damaged vehicle policy, when you're in an accident, you can't go to the garage and make repairs, so it's going to be day over for the 12 of Blaney, who came in 45 points above the cut line. The 11 of Hamlin, because he could drive back, he can make repairs. Parker, a lot of damage for Denny Hamlin.
Right, and you pointed that out. Chris Gabehart asked him after the wreck happened, if you can drive it, go another lap so we can get prepared. They identified the left rear toe link is obviously damaged on the left rear. You see the damage on the right front as well, but the team going about this methodically and getting that plan in place. As he took that lap, we'll see what they can do here. Disaster for this 11 team to start this playoffs of 2024. Remember, last week, only getting 13 points after being involved in an incident in Atlanta, and now here on the first lap after qualifying in 22nd, being involved in this incident.
Look at all the preparation, mechanic underneath the wheel well. You see the case there, the clear plastic case with probably other parts and pieces, a little carry toolbox. You see the sparks fly right there. What happens when that toe link breaks is it can actually bend the bolt or pin. So while you think it's just as easy as 2 bolts, unbolt it, put the next one in, you actually have to probably cut the bolt loose. Now, these teams have pre-measured all of those toe links. They'll have a left rear, a right rear, all set to the perfect length, assuming something else isn't bent. So right here is something that this crew would have practiced in their garage back in Mooresville, North Carolina, actually down in Huntersville in North Carolina. You practice this, but I can assure you, practice is nothing like leaning over that 500-degree rotor with the pressure of the pace car making laps. If you can't get this fixed within time, Jeff, you're going to be out of the race.
That's 100% right, Steve. And this all goes back. Remember the conversation that we've had all week about Denny Hamlin making the decision to ride around in the back and to get a few points at Atlanta, thinking he could come here and get points. And if that strategy didn't work out, where possibly he earned some points last week and doesn't get many this week, he could go to Bristol in a must-win situation. This is potentially worst-case scenario for Denny Hamlin.
And for fellow playoff driver Ryan Blaney, he is officially out of this race at the Glen. In the yellow car coming towards you, Christopher Bell involved in that. The opening lap was not good for playoff drivers. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Go Bowling. Go to gobowling.com to find a center near you. Credit One Bank, NASCAR American Express card, and by Toyota. Let's go places. Beautiful Finger Lakes district of the state of New York. It is a super place to be. This is not a great place to be if you're Ryan Blaney, right?
Let's chat with Ryan now, and got out of the car. We'll ask him what happened in a moment, but it seemed like you were talking to NASCAR officials, Ryan, because did you guys feel like they said you're done for the day? Were you feeling like you should have had time on the clock to be able to repair the car?
Give us a chance to fix it. How are they going to dictate if we're done or not? They have no idea the damage. They said because I couldn't drive it back to the pit box, we're done. But you have 4 flats, you get towed back to the pit box, you can't drive it back. So I don't know what's going on, why they won't even give us a shot to work on it, but I don't agree with it. And I don't even know what happened, honestly. I stacked up and I caught someone in the left front. It completely broke steering arm. I don't know if we could have fixed it, but yeah, that's the frustrating part. Just don't even give us a chance. You just end our day with not even letting us get to look at it before it's in the garage. That's just stinks.
And Steve, there have been several long conversations, first with Jonathan Hassler and NASCAR officials, then Ryan Blaney got involved as well, trying to say, hey, we feel like we should have time on the clock. What does the NASCAR rulebook say about that situation?
So the basic premise of the damaged vehicle policy is if you get into an accident, you have a set amount of time, 7 minutes to repair your car. That's kind of total time on pit road. Where it gets murky and what's upset the 12 car is we have seen cars with flat tires unable to drive back to pit road, so they are then assisted to their pit box. That's the big difference. And what Blaney and his crew chief Jonathan Hassler want in this situation is they want it to be towed to their pit box to assess the damage to see if they can make repairs in 7 minutes. I think this is something that NASCAR is going to have to clear up, because when and who decides whether you go to your pit box or the garage as these playoffs continue, 1 point makes a difference. I think the damage on the 12 is day-ending regardless, but you could hear it in Ryan's voice as frustrating. He feels his crew has the right to see that. Sounds like something between NASCAR and the teams that are going to want to get cleared up, because this isn't going to go away here. Just wait till Bristol next week.
The defending series champion has had, unfortunately, a run of DNFs over the last 4 races, 3 of the last 4. Here it is again. Corey LaJoie involved, Kyle Busch. We've highlighted them going into the inner loop, and this is where the chaos begins.
Yeah, Corey just basically gets on the curb, runs a little high, catches the 8 in the left rear, and then it's chaos behind him.
Hamlin narrowly almost got away with it, but couldn't avoid that contact. Here we ride on board the Gainbridge car with LaJoie.
Yeah, I mean, there's zero doubt. He goes over the curb and catches the 8 in the left rear. Just an absolute racing accident. Now, Kyle Busch is not going to be happy with the 7 for sure. All these other drivers aren't either. There was no intent to run the 8 over, but the contact from the 7 definitely started this accident. Why Blaney is so frustrated is like, there was no big moment, right? He beat and banged on a few cars, but like right on board, look. Right, so you hit the 6, but you know, if you're behind the wheel, you're like, well, that's not going to end my day. And then the 42 hits him, but he's thinking, that's not even a wreck. Like, I just got, you know, hit a few times.
Here's Ricky Stenhouse. Have a listen to this. That took out one of our cameras, by the way, as well. Parker?
And Steve, we talk about preparation. We were watching the 11 team go to work. They were able to change that left rear toe link in about 4 some odd minutes. They even had a little bit there and try and fix the right front. They're asking Denny to assess it now, because they obviously have to get up to meet minimum speed. They get off the DVP, but veteran, calm, and methodical leadership like Chris Caber on the 11 team. They only lost a lap because it's a road course. We'll see if they can get back.
Yeah, they only have 5.5 minutes. You know, they don't have a whole lot of time to fix it anymore, but once he reaches minimum speed, then it's like the wreck never happened. You're free to do whatever you want. That's a lot of chaos. We're 5 laps into the race, and here we go. See if we can try it again, Deb.
Let's see if we can get through the inner loop this time round. Again, we hit the replay button. Ross Chastain in the Busch Lightmobile on the left. Martin Truex Jr., Shane Van Gisbergen tucked in behind. AJ Allmendinger, Alex Bowman. Here we go again. Logano has a look on the inside of Allmendinger. Once again, Chastain gets a terrific start.
Here they come now out of turn number 1. Chastain in that blue.
Whoa! Did you see that, Bagman?
That's crazy. The field knotted up, mid-pack on back. Everybody just trying to root, gouge, and get everything they can get. They sort it out, and that's allowed a few drivers to scamper away with positions that they didn't have before.
And this is AJ Allmendinger, that car that was out of shape and going backwards down the back straightaway. Heard him say something is broke. He's still at pace, but losing lots of track position as the leaders work their way through the bus stop. Everybody through smoothly this time. There's some nudge. Harrison Burton muscled out of the way by Brad Keselowski as everybody works through the carousel and out of turn 5.
You asked earlier, would this be a defining race of the playoffs? 6 laps in, I think we have the answer already. With racing still to go, Chastain leads Truex, Van Gisbergen, Bowman, Briscoe, Cindric, Suarez, the top 7 as everybody starts to get in line, although a battle here between the 10 of Noah Gragson and I believe that's the 43 of Jones.
Gragson qualified really well in the top 10 in his first Cup Series race here at the Glen. Chastain leads Truex and Van Gisbergen. There they are there. Alex Bowman, it's the dinger, AJ Allmendinger, who's the one who's being shuffled out of this top 6.
Looking further back in the pack, other drivers on the move as everybody is just trying to catch their breath, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail. Quite a rambunctious set of opening laps here at Watkins Glen. Everybody now working their way through the S's. Here you've got Noah Gragson in that number 10 car as everybody makes their way into the backstretch.
And does Gragson have a problem? It looked like maybe the right rear was flat, or one of the rear tires. Car kind of looked like it was a little off balance going through the S's. Meanwhile, back up front, Ross Chastain still leads over this battle for second. Martin Truex Jr. in the 19. Shane Van Gisbergen in the 16 runs third. Kim, his teammates on pit road.
Yeah, that would be A.J. Allmendinger. You heard the radio. He said something broke. He's not sure what it is. He said something on the right side of the car. At first, he said the axle, because when he throttles up, the back end wants to just absolutely shoot out. Then he said maybe it's just the tire down. Then he confirmed, I do think something is broke, so the team trying to diagnose it right now.
Let's see exactly what happened to the 13. It was in the S's, I believe. Here he is exiting one.
And watch behind, too. Watch the 22 of Joey Logano. They're coming towards you. Logano goes to the inside and tags Allmendinger.
Yeah, I think whatever happened before the 22 caught him, because I see a little bit of movement in the back of the car. Really an absolute spectacular drive by all of these vehicles. The fastest, narrowest part of Watkins Glen. Let's listen. I mean, it's chaos inside the car, but where the 12 hit him, I can't believe that would break it, but definitely something to miss on the 13. A little cleanup from the original accident as well. Everybody that remained on the racetrack, namely the playoff car of Denny Hamlin, has got off the damaged vehicle policy. He made minimum speed, so we'll have to just update the 11's day as we continue.
The Go Bowling car was one we thought would feature today in the hands of A.J. Allmendinger. Maybe something broke before Logano had hit him, as we mentioned earlier. So Chastain has opened up almost a second lead over Martin Truex Jr., Shane Van Gisbergen, and look who's come into the discussion behind Bowman, Chase Briscoe.
Yeah, Briscoe's such a nice road racer. He knows this is his opportunity. Bowman continues that hot streak. Ross Chastain leading his first ever laps at Watkins Glen after an amazing pole run. Bottom of your screen, the 13 of Allmendinger. Looks like he's going to have to go to the garage. Now, because he wasn't in an accident, they probably can make repairs and return, but that's going to be no hope if you're a Dinger fan. His day and his chances to win Bagley are over.
Here they come back into turn number 2 in the S's. Watching a good battle between Daniel Suarez in the 99, Chase Elliott in the 9, Michael McDowell in the 34. They are racing for 7th, 8th, and 9th to the back straightaway.
And they roll single file now down the back straightaway as that battle sorts itself out. McDowell with a nice run on Chase Elliott into the first right-hander in the bus stop. Everybody orderly this time through in this battle for the 7th, 8th, and 9th spot, with McDowell bringing up the back of this 3-car battle as they work out of the carousel towards turn 6.
Has there been enough going on already? You're watching NASCAR Cup Series playoffs, the Go Bowling at the Glen. A reminder that you can sign up for the NASCAR newsletter to stay up to speed on all the latest from the track. Get your chance to win 2 tickets to a 2025 race of your choice. Just scan the QR code or visit NASCAR.com/race ticket promo to enter. Welcome back to the Glen, Watkins Glen here in New York. 9 laps to go in stage 1. Ross Chastain of Trackhouse continues to lead the way. That's Shane Van Gisbergen looking for a line, Baggy.
And he's been looking for that line for the last handful of laps or so. Another driver looking for a line is Austin Cindric. He is in the orange number 2. He is right behind Daniel Suarez in the 99. He's got Chase Elliott behind him. A good start to the day so far for Austin Cindric, who right now is 7th.
2 cars that have been pretty sneaky good this weekend. Daniel Suarez in that 99 and Austin Cindric in the 2. Chase Elliott, of course, a former winner here at Watkins Glen. They all 3 chase each other through the bus stop and into turn 5. This is a race for 6th, 7th, and 8th, with Suarez leading the way in this 3-car battle.
See Austin Cindric in that orange car kind of holding him up just a little bit. Chase Elliott putting a lot of pressure on him, and then that allows the guys behind him to catch Chase. So Chase needs to get this pass made. If not, they're going to be taking the fight to him.
Keep an eye on that 34 Ford from Front Row Motorsports and Michael McDowell, who started his early career road racing. This is very natural to him, and he told us yesterday he has a fast car and is ready to go. We ride aboard the Xfinity Mobile of Tyler Reddick.
Watching Tyler Reddick leading turn number 1, the downhill run into turn 2. That's the right-hander. That's the foot of the S's. And now that 80-foot climb to turn 3. So far, so good for Tyler Reddick today. Smooth laps and a very smooth racing line as he now exits turn 4 and works his way up the back straightaway.
And he rides in the 10th spot, looking out the front windshield at Michael McDowell. Chase Elliott in front of him, and Austin Cindric there, that battle that we just followed. All these cars nose to tail from about 6th on back. as they all work through the bus stop smoothly, heavy over that curving there at the exit, and then Reddick brings the car smoothly around this long right-hander that's the carousel. Important to get the power down as fast as you can off this portion of the racetrack, Jeff.
Good battle for second place. Martin Truex Jr. trying to defend against Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG, we know how good of a road racer he is. Truex, after last week's Atlanta race, he needs a great race here today.
I love this view of SVG. He makes it look easy, so calm. You see the very calm upshifts down the front stretch, an adjustment to the brake bias, a couple downshifts into turn one.
Still continuing on board with SVG. This again, the battle for second. That car in front of him is Martin Truex Jr. They are 1.2 seconds behind Ross Chastain. Up through the S's they go. Shane now working towards the right-hander, turn 4. He'll pop the steering wheel to the right, and now upshift for a run down the backstretch.
And he got a nice run out of the exit of the S's, peeled to the right side for a change position potentially for that second spot. Not going to happen this time through the bus stop. Truex too strong at this portion of the racetrack, but SVG peppering that back bumper of Truex. Gets him a little bit sideways there through the carousel, but MTJ too strong. He holds off SVG out of turn 5.
Yeah, Truex did a nice job of having momentum off of that corner, but we now know the strengths of SVG in that 16 car. It's up the S's, so what he's got to do is leave turn 1 close to the 19. Oh, we're trying to make an aggressive move here. This is tight in the 7. A very difficult right-hander to make a pass.
If you know Shane Van Gisbergen, you know that he's always looking for that alternative line, and he sets up his moves. He telegraphs his moves a couple of corners before, and that was smooth and slick executed. Here comes Chase Briscoe on the inside of Alex Bowman. Not quite close enough in turn 1. A little nudge, a little push there.
And Briscoe has to back away after that brief contact with Alex Bowman. They are racing for a spot inside of the top 10. They come to the top of the S's, and Bowman's got company still at the back door. Briscoe in the 14, and now Suarez in the 99 has joined this three-man dance up the backstretch.
That's right. Suarez left that battle with Cindric and McDowell from a couple of laps ago. He has reeled in Briscoe. He has reeled in Alex Bowman, and they both have closed the gap on Martin Truex Jr., who runs third in the 19 car. All four of them just about nose to tail at the exit of the bus stop. Truex gets away a little bit as they exit turn number 5. Bowman keeping him honest there in the 48.
And every one of these positions matters. All of these guys are trying to race themselves into the next round of the playoffs. So the intensity with 6 laps to go in this stage and a long way to go in this race is exceptionally high for them. One position could be the difference between making the next round of the playoffs or not.
Trackhouse Racing's Ross Chastain in his 100th Cup Series start leads the way and is 5 away from winning the opening stage.
Applebee's is serving up the NFL. And to celebrate, we're serving up America's favorite boneless wings for just 50 cents each. We're trying out some other stuff, too.
What's the order? 50-cent boneless wings?
50-cent boneless wings on 2. Ready? Break.
Hey, Brock. 50-cent boneless wings only at Applebee's.
Enjoy.
That's my team out there.
If our network goes down, lives are at stake.
Our comms have to work.
Well, the mission won't.
That's why we partner with Verizon Frontline, the network that truly prioritizes first responders.
So we don't worry about getting through. And they're the most reliable 5G network in America. Out here, reliability is everything.
Extreme or routine, Verizon Frontline delivers.
The #1 network choice in public safety. Learn more. Your mission is our purpose.
Ally has savings buckets to help you save for anything you want to buy. Because everyone has something they're saving for. Like that new car. Or a fancy vacation. Or party supplies. Your delivery budget. Or even the down payment on your dream home. Our savings buckets help you save for what matters most to you.
After the 26-week grind, 16 gather. Heroes, hopefuls, hot shots, hot heads. Their demeanor may vary. Their determination does not. Fortune brought them to this moment. Now, it's up to them. The NASCAR playoffs continue at Bristol on USA.
Late in stage one, and there are plenty of takers for a trip to the pits, headed by Shane Van Gisbergen, and Joey Logano's in as well, Marty.
It's a very busy pit road. Paul Wolf told Joey Logano this morning, unless we can win a stage, we're going to flip it in stage one. That's what they're doing right here. You see Shane Van Gisbergen also on pit road, Parker.
Right, and Shane Van Gisbergen's team had a lot of discussion over the last 3 laps about the fall-off, what he was feeling in the car, if they should go through this stage, but eventually they decided the fall-off was too big in these tires, and he came down to flip this stage. They believe that puts them the best strategy, as it's a very busy pit road right now.
It looks like a caution flag on pit road. So many cars. Remember, the leader closes pit road with 2 to go. That is why all of these cars pitted. We do see some playoff cars. Ty Gibbs. We see William Byron. We see Christopher Bell. We see Brad Keselowski. They were running so far back that they don't think staying out would have achieved stage points, which is the goal. I assume Chastain here, because he is the leader, he can pit on this lap. Hard right-hand turn for the 1 car onto pit road as predicted. This will hand the lead to Truex, who will then stay on the racetrack to score those points. There is Truex. Now Truex's job is to hold off Bowman. And behind him, Briscoe, Suarez, that orange car of Cindric, Chase Elliott, Reddick, Larson.
All playoff drivers.
All playoff drivers. Playoff racing in a road course. This is what has to happen.
Kim?
And Steve called it perfectly, and this has been the strategy from the beginning. I talked to crew chief Phil Servin this morning. This was their intention, especially if Ross was able to lead the entirety of the first stage. Right now, Ross just complaining a little tighter in turn 1, but overall all right on the balance of that race car. 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Ross Chastain.
Look at this good racing going on here between Daniel Suarez and Chase Briscoe. Dylan, they're headed your way.
Stage points on offer here. You got to get them while you can. Chase Briscoe gets nudged by Suarez. I don't think he liked the way he was raced, maybe up through the S's there. No harm, no foul. Everybody through the bus stop cleanly. Briscoe goes to 3rd in the 14. Suarez back to 4th in the 99. They chase Alex Bowman, who's ahead of them in that 48 car, and Truex still the leader out of 5.
You see Chase Elliott still applying pressure to Austin Cindric. Austin's doing a nice job holding him back there. 2 to go. Truex has his hands full. Bowman, good little road racer. He's trying to get this stage win.
These aren't theoretical points. These are real points in your bank, 1 lap away.
And you know what? As we look back from the Toyota onboard of Martin Truex Jr. to Alex Bowman, coming into the playoffs, Bowman was surrounded by a dark cloud. It was hovering above him. People were saying he's going to lose his job at Hendrick Motorsports. Well, guess what? Since we started the playoffs, he's had some pretty amazing runs, and especially last weekend. And then he's topped it up and backed it up yesterday with a good qualifying, and here he is in it again today.
Leaders work up the back straightaway. Bowman's got a pretty good run on Truex as they work into the bus stop for the final time in stage 1. If he gets through here cleanly, he may have a shot at him, but Truex gets through there pretty well, leaves the entry a little bit wide through the carousel. Bowman has closed, though. He got through the bus stop very cleanly, down to a half-car length now as they work out of 5 and come to the stage end, Jeff.
Yeah, look at the guys able to get points. So many drivers that some pick not to make the next round. Briscoe, Suarez, Cindric, all getting solid points.
Brad Keselowski speeding on pit road. He'll have to lose track position under yellow. Can Truex pull it off? He looks smooth. 48-14 in tow. Truex going to win the stage.
This is hugely valuable for Martin Truex Jr. At a place where he has won before, he'll take those stage points. So important for him.
Big battle here between the 8 of Kyle Busch and the 11 for the free pass. They'll race till right then. Time of yellow. When the 10th place car crosses the start finish, the track goes yellow. Highest scored lap down car gets the free pass. We'll confirm it, but it should be the 11 of Hamlin.
And by the way, that had been going on for numerous laps. That was some great racing, even though it was a lap down. Chaos on the opening lap affected multiple playoff drivers. It was wild here at Watkins Glen, but that was to be expected. NBC Sports coverage of NASCAR on USA is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Is it the best Coke ever? And by Go Bowling. Go to gobowling.com to find a center near you. Look how spectacular it is here. Surrounding Watkins Glen, which is up on the hill. We look down over the Finger Lakes. This legendary track that featured Formula One for 20 straight years, was born on the back of sports car racing, but for the 41st time, the NASCAR Cup Series races here, and has turned on something pretty special already, right from the very opening lap.
And this is what makes it special. I know the racing is captivating and the stars behind the wheel show up and do their job, but the fans, I mean, the whole atmosphere of this place for this weekend it's really unmatched, right? The camping feel and just the excitement of the fans. It's a very educated fan base, and they know how to have a good time.
So, Martin Truex Jr. comes into this race 19 points on the wrong side of the cut line and has earned maximum stage 1 points. That's exactly what the 19 team from Joe Gibbs Racing needed. That's going to help his overall picture for now. And he's trying to break a run of bad luck, Stevie. He's trying to turn it around right here.
Yeah, you know, normally I'd say there's no such thing as bad luck, but looking at the year that the 19 had, I kind of have to throw that out the window because they have, I think, performed better than the numbers you see. Last week was the perfect example. Caught up in somebody else's mess, had nothing to do with it. Now, the unfortunate part for all these playoff drivers is mission accomplished, but now you're going to pay the penalty, which is they're going to come to pit road, and all of those cars that came under green are going to stay out. Now, we don't know how much slower their tires will be with a couple laps on them, but what we do know is all these playoff cars will come to the service of their team, Marty.
And Steve, no better place for the 19 team to turn around their bad luck that Diff has been talking about than one of his favorite tracks, Watkins Glen. Truex does get the stage win and those 10 valuable stage points. He said he lost rear lateral grip the longer they ran. James Small going to make an air pressure adjustment to fix that, Parker.
And it's a great start for Daniel Suarez in these 2024 playoffs as well. The second Atlanta and a fourth in stage 1 here. He also remarked that he was losing rear grip and actually locking the rear tires under braking, which means they're coming to a stop. That becomes very difficult. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, Kim.
Great points grab for Alex Bowman during stage 1. He said he was pretty tight, couldn't get in the corners as deep as he wanted, especially in turn 1 and the end of the course. Had to back up the corner, so crew chief Blake Harris giving him adjustment for better turn this stage.
Lots of positivity surrounding the Bowman campaign in these 2024 playoffs. Good run off pit lane as well for Larson and Suarez. If you've been up here and you've been here, Seneca Lodge, you'll know what it's all about. If you haven't, you've got to go there. This is a motor racing museum with a little refreshments on the side. It's legendary and it's a must visit. The NASCAR Cup Series playoffs are in full swing. This is the second race in the opening stage. The round of 16, and this is the Go Bowling at the Glen. We're at Watkins Glen. Welcome back, Lee Diffie, along with Steve Letarte. We're going radio style. We got Mike Bagley out there, Dylan Welsh, Jeff Burton right there in turn 6. And a little earlier, Kim Kuhn caught up with one of the favorites for this race, A.J. Allmendinger.
Unfortunately, A.J. Allmendinger out of the race. You told me it's a bigger issue than you originally thought. What exactly is going on with the race car?
The higher up pay grade, or maybe they know more than I do, but it just felt like it just snapped the axle. It sounds like it pulled the axle out of the transaxle, but there's more that went off in there, so it was violent. I'm just happy that I did catch a race car in front of everybody there. That was going to be big, but disappointing. I mean, hard to tell, but I thought the initial first lap there, I was like, oh yeah, this fired off really good. So Go Bowling Chevy, we'll never know. It was a good weekend, really, you know, disappointed just because Go Bowling of putting their belief in me and putting their product on a race car. I felt like we're at least going to have a shot to run up front and maybe win this thing, and just one of those years.
Unfortunately for the Dinger, and he joins Ryan Blaney and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. out of this race.
Work continues on the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Now that they've got the free pass, you know, Chris Gabehart and team are just going to have to really focus on salvaging the day. You know, we came into this talking about tires and runoff and points and all of these things. The most important part as a crew chief is to realize when your goal has changed. And for the 11 of Denny Hamlin, it has completely changed. Every caution they have, take the time to continue to make the car faster, see if other teams have problems. Don't make any issues bigger by losing another lap. You know, there's just nothing you can do currently below the cut line. 6 points below the cut line where the 11 is running. This is a team that the majority of the garage and the media and the fans had moving on to the championship 4, and now he is, you know, I know he's going to Bristol and he's good at Bristol, but I hate to think that you're depending on the high banks of Bristol.
Now it's in survival mode. Let's take a look at the Xfinity fastest lap, and it belongs, no surprise, to the man who's dominated the opening stage, led 18 laps, car number 1, the Busch Light Chevy of Ross Chastain. He loves coming up here. He quite often comes up a little bit earlier, spends some extended time in New York, really enjoys it, loves this. And can he love it all the way to a victory? We will see. He's got a road race specialist on his outside in Michael McDowell. He's got Shane Van Gisbergen on his inside. And the man who won the first playoff race in Atlanta last weekend, Joey Logano. Let's get ready to start stage 2. Do we get into more of a rhythm here? Is it going to be more predictable or more chaos to come? Here we go. Van Gisbergen is pushing. Chastain hard on the inside. SVG thinks about diving on the inside and then thinks again. McDowell goes out wide. Check out this bag, man. Here they come.
McDowell's going to swing it all the way wide. He's going to take a run for the lead, but he can't get it done. Chastain gets the burst into the clean air. McDowell right behind him into 34. Shane Van Gisbergen gets punted a bit wide coming through turn 3. Joey Logano breathing down his tailpipes in the 22.
Tyler Reddick was that car that spun in entry to turn number 1. You see him off the pace and losing ground as he tries to gather it in up the S's. Meanwhile, leaders working through the bus stop. Chastain feeling the pressure from McDowell in second. A little further back in the top 10. Everybody dipping the tires off the exit curving through the bus stop. Chris Buescher to the inside of Noah Gragson. They race for the 10th and 11th spot through the carousel and out of 5.
Great side-by-side battle here as they drive into turn 6. You feel like the intensity's picked up, that's because it has. A lot of drivers in front of this pack with nothing to lose. Still side by side, 17 to Buescher on the inside. Noah on the outside. Noah gives way, but now he's under attack by Bell.
And keep an eye out for that black and gold car, number 50. The legend is back. Juan Pablo Montoya is up there running in the top 15. This is a one-off in the Mobil 1 machine for 23-11, and he's loving it.
Juan Pablo Montoya has not been in a Cup car in 10 years. Couldn't tell it. Solid outing so far. Meanwhile, it's a rugby scrum mid-pack. Everybody 2 and 3 wide now. At least that one pocket of cars coming up the hill through the S's. There's the 9 of Chase Elliott. Austin Cindric in the 2. Bubba Wallace in the 23. They're all stacking it up coming out of 4.
These cars that we just saw all back outside of the top 20. We take a look now at the front runners. Everybody single file and contained up there. Not so much through here. Alex Bowman and Chase Briscoe resume their battle. Bubba Wallace slides wide at the exit of the bus stop. And now Chase Elliott looks to the inside of Daniel Hemrick. They race inside the top 20, actually just outside the top 20. Elliott goes by for 21st in the 9.
Well, this is the negatives to getting points in stage 1. Martin Truex Jr. won stage 1. He is running in 17th position, and all these guys are behind him, so they got a lot of work to do to get back to the front.
You talk about the chaos of getting points. Well, that's what happens. Middle of the pack on the restart. 99 of Suarez, about the 15th car on the left-hand side. As they go down into the first corner, you see pretty calm at the front. 3 wide further back. Reddick forces it 3 wide. The 99 gets a little contact, gets loose, contacts the 45 and spins it around. I think it was the 2, the orange car, top center of the screen if you can make it out. I mean, how do you blame anybody? Briscoe into the 2, into the 99, who gets the 45. I mean, it's the game of contact telephone. Here you go, pushing and pushing and pushing. Not everyone's gonna make it, and that time it was the 45 of Reddick getting spun around.
Here's the view from Reddick, the Xfinity Mobile on board. This has been an expensive day so far for about 6 or 7 of the 16 playoff drivers. Meanwhile, Chastain back out in front. Van Gisbergen ahead of McDowell. And Look at Zane Smith nicely in the mix. He was fortunate to avoid contact in the 71 Spire machine on lap 1, that chaos on the inner loop, but he is running well. Parker, tell us more about Kyle Larson.
Well, Steve pointed out the risk of taking points there is that you end up further back in the pack. Cliff Daniels came on the radio after they finished 8th in stage 1 and said, Kyle, we had to take these 2 points. It was worth it, but we're just going to make our way through. Well, he was also involved in that incident with the 45 and the 99. He's now back in 27th place, having to work his way forward, and that is just the risk. You want the points, it's going to put you further back in the pack, and he lost around 5 or 6 positions down in turn 1 in that melee.
Ross Chastain continues to pace the field. He has legged it out over Shane Van Gisbergen, who runs in the 2nd spot, that white 16 car. 3rd on back. It's a bit of a hornet's nest. Michael McDowell leads this group. Here's Carson Hocevar, the 77, looking inside briefly on William Byron as they race through the carousel. That's the race for the 8th spot. Everybody single file amongst the top 10.
Everybody is single file, but as happened in the first run, these tires are going to start losing grip, and when they did, most drivers complained about the loss of rear grip. That makes it very difficult to try to overtake or to try to defend. See Truex right here, really can't go anywhere just yet, but I think as this run goes on, those newer tires will start to be an advantage.
Harrison Burton just in front of Truex has a little bit older tire. This is a very important run for Harrison because just like in stage 1, people will start to pit. The 21's in position to score some stage points if he can just hold the 19 and other playoff drivers off.
Chastain continues to lead, but that margin over Shane Van Gisbergen has narrowed. It's now down less than a second between 1st and 2nd as we're racing deeper into stage 2 in this beautiful part of the state of New York. Wineries, lakes, and a lot of motor racing. This week on DraftKings Sportsbook, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $250 in bonus bets instantly to use on any sport you wish, whether it's this race or tonight's Sunday night football game. Download the app and use the promo code SPEED when you sign up. The important figures are at the bottom left of your screen. Stevie, who catches your eye?
Well, SVG's been the favorite all week. He continues to be the favorite as he runs in 2nd right behind Chastain. Chastain getting that respect 5-1 now with as dominant as a car as it looks. McDowell as well. A lot of racing still to go, though.
Maybe some good numbers there on young Ty Gibbs at plus 1,300. The WeatherTech on board for Shane Van Gisbergen. He is all over Ross Chastain. And Dylan, there's still 8.5 laps to go in the 2nd stage.
And this gap between SVG, who we ride on board with, and Ross Chastain has slowly evaporated lap over lap. And these two, as the race leaders, have left 3rd on back. Michael McDowell has got everybody jammed up behind him. But a great race up front as they exit the bus stop. Top 2 nose to tail as SVG peeks to the right side. Chastain able to guide his car back down to the curbing and pull away out of 5.
I certainly feel that SVG and his team have made their car better. Chastain drove away from him in the first stage, but as Dylan just said, it looks to me SVG has a little bit better car, but getting around this one of Chastain is going to be difficult, Parker.
Right, and he's also been talking about trying to save those rear tires as they go through this run, but it's interesting watching these two battled out the front of the field. Shane told me yesterday about the preparation for this week and how it was intense between running the Xfinity Series and the Cup car and all the preparation he had to do. But one of the interesting things was, who did he work with on that preparation? Ross Chastain. He said he and Ross worked together and actually found some things they felt like could make them better above the field, and now they find themselves battling out. Let's see who took the best notes.
Watching the battle for the lead from Shane Van Gisbergen's on board on the top box. The bottom box is the battle for 3rd. A couple of boards there. The 34 of McDowell. You've also got the 22 of Logano with Zane Smith of Spire Motorsports looking on.
McDowell defends on the bottom screen that race for 3rd. Joey Logano had a look to his right on the entry to the bus stop. McDowell faded over just enough that Logano had to roll out of the throttle and try to reload here as he pulls them through the carousel. Logano drifts a little bit wide in the 22. Zane Smith right there looking to his inside in the 5th spot.
Yeah, Logano misses marks just a little bit, but I got to tell you, I'm so impressed with this 22 of Joey Logano. When the playoffs started, they came to play. So everybody talks about the pressure of the playoffs and all that, and I think Joey absolutely loves
this diff, right? He walked in, he had this air of confidence. I asked him point blank, hey, do you and Paul talk about the playoffs? And he looked at us and goes, you know, I don't think anything has to be said. Our whole team, top to bottom, is experienced. They know what's on the line, and they proved it with a win last week and another fast car this week.
How about that? Go ahead, Baggy.
Right now, Logano's just waiting for McDowell to make a slip. I mean, he's been poised and in position. The problem is McDowell's so solid. That one little slip from McDowell could allow Logano to have a lane, and he's just about had one right there.
And Joey is way better out of the S's, but McDowell just able to play defense enough that Logano can't do anything with him through this technical part of the racetrack. This battle for third, the bottom of the screen, is a good one, but it has continued to allow the top two to drive away. The gap now over 7 seconds between second and third.
Joey Logano intentionally losing the bottom of the racetrack in that carousel, trying to get a better exit. But when he does that, he opens the door for Zane Smith behind him, gives Zane Smith a little bit of clean air. He's going to have to tighten that up a little bit. It was a good thing to try, but I think if he keeps doing it, Zane Smith will take advantage and take the spot.
How about the fact that all three Spire Motorsports Chevys are in the top 10? Yes, there's a breakaway group on different strategy, but let's give the team headed there by Zane Smith some credit in the 71. Marty, what have you got on Truex?
Hey, Diff, quickly approaching another divergent point with strategy when everybody flipped stage one. They are all the cars out in front of Martin Truex Jr., who did not flip stage one. So see, the basic approach for all the crew chiefs was to see the progress those that did not flip the stage have made. And Truex has made absolutely zero progress. Right there, falling back to 18th, now fighting for 17th there with Chase Briscoe. But the guys who did run the entire stage, Steve, haven't gone anywhere once they came back out on the track. So as a crew chief, how would you form that next decision coming up in 3 laps?
Well, Truex might not have gone anywhere in running order, but he went somewhere in the points order. Scored a lot of points. It's the same thing, rinse and repeat. Gibbs, Byron, Bell, Burton, Briscoe, Truex, all should stay on the racetrack, score those stage points.
Hey, Flo. Cool leg warmers.
Thanks. They're just for the bus ride to work. They're not part of the official uniform.
No tunes today?
No. My apartment was robbed last night. Took my cable-ready TV, VCR, portable cassette player.
Yep, all the latest tech.
If only Progressive had renter's insurance, like their home insurance.
Then we could bundle our cars and get the same 24/7 protection. I think we just invented that. This is the best day ever.
Well, I still got robbed.
It's still a pretty good day.
There she goes. Go.
With so much great entertainment out there, wouldn't it be easier if you could find what you want all in one place?
My favorites. $5 all-you-can-eat pancakes are back at IHOP for a limited time. Or free with select combo purchase. Now you can get stacks on stacks. At IHOP, we don't just put food on your plate, we put a smile on your plate.
Ashley knows that some of our most important traditions and memories start around the dining table. From cozy breakfast nooks to formal dining areas, we have versatile options that fit any space. With styles ranging from mid-century modern to farmhouse or traditional, starting at just $499.99. Only at Ashley.
And that's why I never drive those guys.
Party's over, big guy.
We're tired of hearing, I don't want to get my truck dirty.
With WeatherTech laser-measured floor liners, front and rear, a seat protector, and full bed protection, trucks are totally covered.
You just got WeatherTech.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get dirty.
Drive worry-free with these American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
This guy thinks he's running a charming bed and breakfast. He's not.
Everything okay?
We're good. He's on USA Scare Tactics.
Hey, I need 5 stars!
A reboot by Jordan Peele and Monkey Paw Productions.
Sometimes at night, I see stuff in here. What do you mean?
Scare Tactics premieres Friday, October 4th on USA.
Just 3 laps remaining in the second stage. Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen, and then it's daylight to Michael McDowell, who leads this train to pit. Logano has stayed out.
See all of the cars in the back pitting now before the end of the stage. Cars on the right, mostly playoff cars, staying out for points, Parker.
Right, as you see Michael McDowell lead a lot of cars here on the pit road, once again flipping his stage. That's what got him into the top 3 position in terms of track position before. You'll see Ford Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuels. All these cars come down pit road to flip the stage, Marty.
Martin Truex Jr. said, I could go absolutely nowhere. Said he lost rear grip the longer they ran. Also lost his corner entry advantage he had earlier in turns 1 and turn 7. And man, this is a busy pit road.
Spun around, 99 car spun around in turn 6. He is borderline in the gravel. He's stuck. He cannot get out. NASCAR's going to have to throw the caution here.
This has been such a crazy day for playoff drivers.
And this is day over for Chastain and SVG. They try to run one extra lap. Will they get to pit road before the yellow? It's a drag race. The 1 and the 16, they will not make it. Pit road is closed. So much frustration in the camp of the 1 and the 16. That was the one thing that could not happen on their strategy. This yellow will sink them, his own teammate, the playoff car, the 99 in the sand.
By the way, that errant wheel on pit road that Stevie circled before, that belonged to Brad Keselowski's 6 car from RFK.
Yeah, the other thing it did, Steve, is that all those guys behind him, here he is, Suarez he just locked the rear tires up, had problems getting into 6. But the other thing that did is that the guys behind Chastain, Van Gisbergen, they were expecting him to pit also. So Gibbs, Byron, Burton, Briscoe, Bowman, all those guys just lost 2 and maybe 3 points if Logano would have been able to pit also.
I was going to wait to see what Logano did. I think he might stay out to win the stage, but he also knows that Chastain and SVG were going to pit. So Paul Wolfe might have been just trying to buy another lap on the tires. We'll never know at this point. An interesting situation. The 6, Brad Keselowski speeding on pit stop 1. A tire gets away on pit stop 2. Remember, this downhill, this area of pit road, the tire turns away, and now gravity. Gravity's going to show up. You see the gentleman screaming on the radio. Everybody's pointing. But when Brad leaves, and it doesn't really matter if Brad leaves or not, once that tire kind of crosses the pit box out into pit road, it is going to be a penalty regardless. The official goes and gets it. But the 6 car had speeding on the first stop, a penalty on the second. It's been a rough day on pit road for the RFK number 6.
So you've got Ryan Blaney, playoff driver, the defending series champion, out. Daniel Suarez causes this caution before the end of the stage 2 caution. Tyler Reddick got turned around and has not been happy with his car. Multiple penalties to Brad Keselowski. Larson narrowly avoided that incident on lap 1, but he's still fighting in a position a lot further back than where he would like to be. This has been an expensive day for numerous playoff drivers.
And we're not halfway. I mean, I know the stages kind of amplify the start of this race, but once we get through the end of this stage, which closes in a couple laps, you know, there's still 50 laps of racing to go. So a whole nother pit stop. We see the 99 make it to his pit stall.
And the irony of it, one Trackhouse car leading and one Trackhouse car causes the caution. So let's take you back and remind you what we were just talking about. Opening lap multi-car incident. Kyle Busch goes around, gets Christopher Bell. Zane Smith misses it. Stenhouse doesn't, nor does Hamlin.
End of the day for Ryan Blaney. Hamlin was able to kind of nurse it around, make repairs. He's still on the racetrack. Bell spun as well, on board with Stenhouse. He's out of the race after this damage.
That kind of tells the story for Ricky, doesn't it?
Yeah, even got our camera.
Big hit. This is a close-up look at the damage of Denny Hamlin's car, and this was the moment that Ryan Blaney was informed that he was done for the day. Martin Truex Jr. wins the opening stage. This is what happened between Suarez and Reddick, but it was a multi-car incident as well that caused that the net result for Reddick.
Yeah, we just highlighted Brad Keselowski. The tire gets away, rolls the car across pit lane. That'll give up the track position for the 6 once again. Fortunately, nobody hit the tire. Nice job by Justin Haley right there to avoid it. And just like that, we're going to finish this stage under yellow. And that timing of that caution just really disrupts what's happening not for everybody, but some key personnel. Chastain and SVG had the best cars, and I like the strategy they were on. They were coming to pit road that lap, and that yellow kind of shut that opportunity. Parker, what are you hearing from SVG's camp?
Right, Steve, and on the radio, there was an audible sigh when that caution came out. They were so close to getting to pit road, but this now puts them in a conundrum because, as Marty noted, cars that went to the back did not make any headway. Take a listen to what they said on the radio.
Do you think many people will stay out? You pitted at the stage 1, and they could not move. So if we pit right now, you're going to come out about 28 and have to fight your way through the whole field. Or we can stay out, take what we can, stay in the top 5, and run, run till we feel like we need to pit.
So that is the decision for this 16 car and the 1 car. Do you pit, get the tires, and think you can muscle your way through, or hold out on those old tires and just see how far and what you can hold on to in stage 3, Marty?
Parker kind of banking on the fact that the 1 and the 16 they thought would pit before the end of the stage. I just asked Paul Wolf the question that you asked Steve, and he said yes, they were going to stay out and take the playoff point. He said now we didn't get the playoff point and we're buried, but sometimes that's just how it works, right, Steve, at the road courses or anywhere with strategy these days.
Oh, tell me when the yellows are going to come out, Diff, and I'll tell you when you're supposed to come to pit road. I actually like what Travis Mack is saying, so let me try to break down some of that radio. What Travis Mack is saying is, hey, this was bad. Timing was bad. What can we do? Well, we could come and pit here, give up our track position, and put it on the shoulders of the driver to try to make it back through the field. Or the fuel tank here, we haven't talked a lot about fuel today because the tires kind of fall off, but they can run.
But he can keep going.
Yeah, they can
really
run
15 laps.
40 laps,
Yeah.
right? So basically, he says, or we'll just leave you out there on old tires because your pace is unbelievable. And even if we get passed by 6 or 8 cars, that's not as bad as we would have been if we pit. And then we run, to your point, another 15 laps inside our window, and we come to pit road from there. So I don't hate that call for the 16. I think he's so good in clean air. I think that's the angle I would take, Marty.
Even though pit road is closed, Steve, Billy Scott taking the opportunity to bring Tyler Reddick down pit road here. He said the car just did not feel right after that spin earlier, was not able to really make any progress, even though he had clean racetrack in front of him. But Tyler Reddick and Billy Scott making some repairs to the 45 here.
And interesting enough, in all of this chaos, Denny Hamlin is going to sneak into the 10th position and score a point. And, you know, a point doesn't seem like much, but we've seen ties eliminate drivers in the playoffs. This 1 point for Denny Hamlin might be the difference.
You'll take what you can get. There is the end of stage 2, albeit under a slower pace. Under caution, Ross Chastain wins that second stage over Shane Van Gisbergen, but the complexion of their day changed quite dramatically here at the Glen. Hey, race fans, here's a reminder. When in Las Vegas, stay where the racers stay at the South Point Hotel, Casino and Spa. It's your ultimate pit stop on the Las Vegas Strip. South Point, everything you want, all under the one roof. Welcome back to the Finger Lakes District of New York, Watkins Glen. Go bowling at the Glen. End of stage 2. And many are diving for pit road and many are staying out. Parker's there.
Right, and the car that leads them down there is the 54 of Ty Gibbs. He pits from the 4th place position here in this stage. They got to that position via flipping the first stage, and that got them to track position to get some points here. Remember, they came into this race +1 above the cut line, so those are crucial points for the 54 team, Kim.
Well, Parker, for last year's winner, William Byron, a little debate on what to do during this caution. Ultimately, Byron saying we have to make the car better. They are making significant adjustments. He said, I just need way more lateral grip, wants to be better in traffic, so do expect a longer stop for some changes here for William Byron.
Wow, there's some big changes happening underneath the back of this car. I can't really tell you what they're doing. Maybe adjusting rear sway bar, rear shock, or there's a few different things that could be adjusting there.
Need to tell you about a lot of penalties, but it's highlighted by this one here. Hendrick Motorsports, Kyle Larson, and Stevie explain why.
So we don't get called this much, but vehicle interference. So let's take a moment. There's an orange line in every pit box right here. That's a reference for Kyle Larson. They would love to see the 5 car be on the outside of that, pulling into his box. There's an orange box out here. That orange box is a reference for NASCAR's cameras. If they can see the orange box, they know the right side of the car is well over the orange line. So if we roll forward just a little bit, you're going to see Kyle Larson. I mean, he straddles the orange line, 3-4 feet of the car, and this is a major disadvantage to the 43 of Eric Jones. That's why those are there. So those aren't inbounds and out of bounds. I don't want to make it sound like you can't touch the line. And if the 43 wasn't there, he has the right to use that box. But this was 2 years ago, NASCAR put this in place. This is for protection of the crew members. We rarely see this. I have to wonder. We see drivers drive through a lot of pit boxes, and another issue of Kyle Larson. Remember, the driver is on the left side, away from pit wall. The opposite of every other time he comes down pit road for the year. I think that has something to do with it. Let's listen in.
I mean, yeah, I'm sorry, because I'm not even, it's hard to see that orange box when it's in your right front versus left front. I thought I was being extremely cautious, but I guess not.
So you're here, right front versus left front. I know it sounds silly, but it's backwards. I mean, I'm not going to ask you, Diff. I know you've probably driven on the wrong side of the road some. But if I go to a country that drives on the wrong side of the road, I have to think every left turn and right turn, which lane I'm turning into. Sure. It's the same idea. He's on the wrong side. And I have to admit, I wanted to see how, like, obvious the call was. Big stack up right here on the choose. The 23 above the wall was pulled over for some reason.
By the way, Bubba was one of many cars penalized. So Zane Smith had a speeding penalty. The tire penalty for Brad Keselowski, we showed you that. So Bubba, along with Tyler Reddick, Daniel Suarez, pitting too soon. So that group of drivers all penalized.
If you're keeping the cliff notes, you're out of ink.
Yeah.
There's been a lot.
It's been one of those days.
Yeah, we got, Steve, this restart could be crazy. We got old tires starting in front of this pack and much newer tires behind them.
So this is the strategy that we heard on the radio for SVG, Chastain, SVG, Logano, and Briscoe. Top 4 cars are going to try to change this up and run to a different pit window.
Let's see how long they can go. They know they can do it on fuel. How do those Goodyear tires hang in there? Remember, different tire this year. It was a big discussion before we came to the Glen about the tire drop-off, the degradation. How will they hang in there? We're about to find out. Stage 3 begins now. Briscoe on the inside. Look at that high point forward. Does he get Van Gisbergen? No, he gets hit. There's contact. They're scrambling everywhere and spreading. Baggy, they're coming your way.
And it is chaos leaving turn 1, heading into the S's. They all try to sort it out. Ross Chastain just trying to get out of Dodge right now. Shane Van Gisbergen in second. They are double wide through the S's for the balance of the field as everybody tries to sort it all out before they get to the backstretch.
It looks like single file from about 5th forward, but this is a good battle here. Joey Logano on the left in the 22, Chris Buescher on the right in the 17 as they work through the bus stop. Hard to go through here too wide, but these guys will do it lap after lap if they had to. They enter the carousel now. Buescher able to take that spot away from Logano just inside the top 10.
Tough racing here side by side. See Eric Jones on the outside, others on the outside, trying to carry that momentum off of this corner. And look at how wild it's going to get on the corner entry. A lot of drivers trying to outbrake each other.
And keep an eye on that car number 50, Juan Pablo Montoya. He was on full attack mode on that restart, the beginning of stage 3. Here's the Toyota on board of Martin Truex Jr. Let's go for a ride.
Trouble further back. Todd Gilliland gets muscled off course coming out of turn number 1. He's going to try to bring it back on the course, and he will. Right in front of Todd Gilliland in the 38. Close quarters there as everybody gets stacked up. Todd Gilliland having a problem coming through turn number 1. He'll come right back on the track in front of Ty Gibbs in the 54 and Austin Dillon in the 3.
These cars all racing from the 22nd spot on back. That's where Gilliland rides further up at the front of the field as these cars continue to work through the bus stop. Battles resuming again. There's Alex Bowman on the outside, the 15 car on the inside. That's Kaz Grala as he works his way through the carousel. They battle for the, looks like the 18th spot, just inside the top 20 out of 5.
Yeah, still side by side. You see further ahead of that battle, everybody's kind of singled out. Bowman trying to make a move on the inside, has a preferred spot on Kaz Grala. Going to be able to make that pass. So on the background, the 24 William Byron, who just made that big adjustment, he made a big bold move on the inside.
We have William Byron on the attack. Chastain less than a second to SVG as we head to the pits. Cancun.
Yeah, Chase Briscoe currently running in the 3rd position. One of the playoff drivers that did not stop at the end of the stage 2 caution. Here was the thinking and strategy behind that move.
Maintain my track position up here. I can win. Like, I'm not going to win if we pit, I don't feel like. I understand, but if we scored 12 points, I think, today, and if we give all of those back because we end up wadded up, I just don't think that's a wise decision.
I get it. I mean, I can be smart about it. I just know if I start back there with them, like, it's going to be hard. Like, we're just going to all have the same amount of points.
So that team leaning on the driver to make that decision. Chase feeling really good. Marty, he's spent the week with road course ace Joey Hand preparing for Watkins Glen.
Same thought process for Joey Logano, the winner last week at Atlanta. He's already advanced to the round of 12. Paul Wolf told me, listen, that was really our only move, not to pit there, and all we need out of Joey is 10 to 12 hard laps. Their plan, they'll come about lap 53 or 54, and they should be done pitting for the day, Parker.
And Marty, right at the end of stage 2 there, we saw the 99 spun into the gravel into turn 6 and caused that caution that sort of flipped this race on its head. I want to point out what happened here. If you look at this wheel, it actually split apart. The reason, it was loose, and when these wheels are loose, Steve, they sort of rub and actually split the wheel apart. That caused the flat tire, and that caused them to spin, which brought out the caution. Those are the mistakes that compound in these races. You just cannot make them.
Yeah, you see the aluminum wheel has no luck holding up against that brake caliper.
Watching Kyle Larson come up the hill side by side with Brad Keselowski. They both are buried in the field. They are 29th and 30th, respectively. Keselowski able to keep Kyle Larson in the rear view for now.
They work down the back straightaways. Keselowski plays some defense trying to defend on Larson. Meanwhile, a little further ahead, more battles raging inside the top 20 and further forward as they work out of the bus stop. Ty Gibbs on the inside, that orange and black number 54, trying to move Ryan Preece out of his way as they work out of 5.
Yeah, William Byron, that 24 car, he's done a nice job. Clearly some positive changes to that car when they took the time to make them. He's been on full offense now underneath Ryan Preece. He's picked up several spots on this restart.
Up front, Shane Van Gisbergen is not letting Ross Chastain get away. Michael McDowell, who is on considerably fresher tires, sits third, but he's about 2+ seconds adrift. Let's have a look at this from a few laps ago. Kyle Larson and Brad Keselowski fighting, Steve, over 29th position.
Well, and you see the kind of depth booze as Larson is in the grass, and that's because of that position. I think if they're up inside the top 5, they're a lot more respectful, but they just know they have to get going.
Treble up to turn number 2. Denny Hamlin is around, and he's got contact on the back of his race car. Hamlin comes to grief at the bottom of the S's. He's able to refire the car, but as you can tell by the crowd here in turn 2, they are happy about Denny Hamlin, but I guarantee you he is not.
These playoffs have been brutal for Denny Hamlin, even pre-playoffs, with the penalty for the mix-up with the engine, where it was unsealed when it shouldn't have been. Massive loss of points. Crashed at Daytona, crashed in the big wreck. Recovered at Darlington, and here just gets put into the wall.
Yeah, 3 wide. I mean, basically he uses the runoff, but the same 5 and 6 that we were showing you were side by side. Brad basically is like, look, man, if you're going to go to that runoff, you're just not going to squeeze me and have me lift. You see all that dirty rubber. I think the 11 knows he has to get in line. 3 cars just don't fit on the entry to the S's, Jeff.
Yeah, Steve, look, this is simple to me. Denny Hamlin in desperation mode. This right here normally is a lift. I can't be 3 wide on the outside. Instead, he piles it in there in the worst position he can possibly be in contact. And this is how the playoffs have been for them. Did not approach Atlanta effectively, had trouble here early, qualified not great, and then, in my opinion, just an overreaction and a desperation move by Denny.
A team that you don't normally so calculated. Everything they do is calculated. I don't know, the playoffs just have not seemed like the 11 signature.
3 playoff drivers going 3 side by side into the S's.
For outside the top 25.
For up near 30th position.
Yeah, now if you would have said those 3 were going to be 3 wide, I would have said, oh, that's a good race for the win. Not for where they were running. And they're just a mess for this 11 team. Now the story for the front kind of grows. We didn't talk a lot about it, but the fuel window is 37 to 39 laps. We have 43 to go. Pit road will open with 42 to go. We saw in yesterday's Xfinity Series race, Connor Zilic Congratulations, by the way.
Huge congrats.
First race, pole, and a win. I mean, that's pretty much the best way to do it. Saved a bunch of gas, and I know we talk about Goodyear tires and the fall off and all of these things, but Chastain and SVG have really held track position. Do they dare come now and fill their cars up?
All right, so let's listen as we ride along. Listen to everybody in the gas or not. Three cars in a spot made for two, or maybe 1.5. And you can see the fire coming out of the pipes of the 6 car trying to get out of that. So, you know, and the 11 also, actually. So my initial instinct was they were all in there too hot. The reality of it is they were all lifting, expecting the other one to get, they were going to lift, they were going to pull behind, but in retrospect, I think they all were lifting, and they all got slow together, and then 3 wide in a space made for 1.5.
Points as they run now. Denny Hamlin, 18 outside the cut line. This has been an expensive couple of races for the FedEx team at Joe Gibbs Racing.
They did win Bristol in the spring.
But gonna need to win Bristol in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's just, look, can he? Absolutely. He can win everywhere we go. I don't think you never want to be put in the must-win position. Let's see if anybody feels like now's the time. Looks like there's some anticipation there from pit road for the 22 car. Leaders stay on the racetrack. I can't tell if pit road's open or not.
Just let your eyes drift back a little bit as Logano first goes. You'll see the red and white car of Carson Hocevar and the black number 50 of Juan Pablo Montoya. They've made up 28 and 26 positions respectively. Marty, Logano.
Joey Logano pits out of the 10th position at the time and coming to pit road here. They are outside of their fuel window, but again, this is what a win in the bank does for you. Trying something a little bit different. So the car was better on that run, but man, he was hanging on at the end, Kim.
Disastrous day for Brad Keselowski, so they just had to do something different strategy-wise. Matt McCall bringing him down this stop, trying to stretch that fuel window, but Brad Keselowski just complaining about a little bit tight, especially in the right-hander, so they're going to get 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
Regardless of what happens from here to the checkered flag, we're going to leave Watkins Glen saying it was costly for the playoff drivers. Did you know that next Friday, the NASCAR Xfinity Series comes to the CW? It all begins in Bristol when Hall of Famer, our good friend Dale Earnhardt Jr., joins the field against the series top drivers in the regular season finale. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Bristol, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on the CW. And to find your local CW station, go to thecw.com/NASCAR. And Ty Gibbs proudly displaying that with the CW big and bold on his hood, and that all begins next Friday at Bristol Motor Speedway, which of course is the end of the regular season for the Xfinity Series. It is a cutoff race here in the Cup Series. We're getting ready to go. The Toyota Camry pace car lights are off, a familiar scene of Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen at the front. How about Spire Motorsports? Corey LaJoie in that Gamebridge car. He's been up there. So too Zane Smith prior to his penalty. Carson Hocevar. And watch out for JPM. Juan Pablo Montoya is in the mix. Will the craziness continue? Almost guaranteed. Let's go. Restart in stage 3. McDowell in that bright green car on the inside. Mike Bagley, get ready, here they come.
Ross Chastain has already gotten away. SVG letting it fly in the way outside, trying to hang on to second. But here comes Michael McDowell in that 34 car. McDowell's got to pump the brakes just a tad, so SVG will get second. McDowell is third in that green 34, and here comes Corey LaJoie in the 7 car.
Van Gisbergen peeks out of line momentarily as they work down the backstretch, falls back in line in the 2nd spot. Those 2 cars behind Chastain, the leader, and Van Gisbergen have some fresher tires, about 20 laps fresher. We'll see how that pays dividends for them later in the run. Everybody amongst the top 20 orderly through the bus stop, but they're battling hard deeper in the pack through turn 5.
Yeah, once again, Chastain been fast all day long, continuing to do so. You know, now it's going to boil down, you know, who can avoid trouble late in this race? Who can have speed? How does the strategies work out with only 40 to go? A lot to be determined in this race.
Carson Hocevar on the inside of Chase Briscoe. That's a spirited fight onto the front straight. And you know who we haven't spoken much about, who's a sneaky good road course racer? Chris Buescher is immediately ahead of them.
Watching Buescher in the 17, exit turn 1, his downhill run into the S's continue. Battle for second again. SVG getting a lot of company. Briscoe has a lot of company around him. The 77 of Hocevar. He'll make the pass as everybody now climbs up turns 2, 3, and 4 and exits now on the back straight.
Top 5 breakaway with Buescher at the back of that train, and Hocevar leading this next group of cars. There's Chris Buescher as the field works into the bus stop. Single file amongst the top 5 in that battle between Hocevar and Briscoe for the 6th spot has sorted out of the exit of the bus stop. Everybody smoothly through this portion of the racetrack. Zane Smith and Eric Jones starting the battle deeper in the field.
Yeah, good side-by-side battle here. Kyle Larson trying to work himself back up through the field underneath the 43 of Eric Jones. Logano using all the racetrack. It is wild racing back here. It is aggressive. Everybody's trying to get everything he can, but I think you're also a little bit afraid with all the damage so far today. You don't want to have it now this late.
Yeah, that's the issue. 40 to go in the race, 39 this time by. Leaders and really the entire field, or most of the field, needs to come to pit road one more time as we see Larson give this 71 a little bit of a shot into the corner.
Watching this battle come downhill, Logano in the 22. You've got the 71 of Smith. Everybody flaring out now, bringing their cars back on course. Here again, Logano and Zane Smith. They're side by side. Kyle Larson in the 5 looking on. Logano's able to hang on to the spot. He'll seal off the advance from Smith. And Larson exiting 4.
Logano takes over the 23rd spot. Zane Smith in that 71 runs 24th. Larson out of line behind him as they work down into the bus stop. Zane Smith blocks it up, able to guide it back to the right, but that may allow Larson to pull a crossover here. Not able to do it through the bus stop. He'll stay in line. Again, this race on the screen, the race for the 24th spot. Zane Smith has it. Larson in the 5 wants it as they work out of the carousel.
Really good racing right there. You can see how badly Larson wants that spot. Zane Smith, he's not in the playoffs. He doesn't care. He's going to try to protect that position and get the best finish he can. It's always interesting when the playoffs start, yet playoff drivers racing non-playoff drivers, both trying to figure out whether they belong on the track, Marty.
Joey Logano trying to make his way through the field, Jeff, after stopping a few laps ago at lap 48. As we mentioned during the stop, outside of their fuel window. So why did they do it? Listen to the radio.
Tell me what the story is when you get a chance. I'm assuming we're a few short. They were within a few laps, so figured it was worth coming and getting filled up here and see what happens. You know, one caution it would connect it for us.
So according to Paul Wolf, Steve, he said one caution would get them there, and that would have been their last stop of the day. Here's my question, Steve. If they don't have that win in the bank, is that a move Paul Wolf makes?
Well, I mean, the whole race they've called differently because of that win. So it's hard to know that specific one if you can kind of untangle it. But right now, Logano, dust and dirt and gravel, the 22, 71, and 5, that spirited battle that you talked about, Diffie, they're all on the same lap. Lap 48, they're on pit road. So they're thinking they're racing their own little group together. Now, the leaders here of Chastain and SVG, they are going to be looking at pit road, I assume, in the next couple laps. And then it's going to be kind of all sails ahead for these guys once they come off pit road.
How far can they go is the question for Chastain and Van Gisbergen. Look, there's the fuel remaining with the laps run. Here goes Gizzy, has a look on the inside of Ross Chastain. Mike, get ready for it.
He'll open up the inside lane coming out of 1. Question is, can he seal the deal in 2? Has to pump the brakes just a tad, and that's allowed Michael McDowell to catch him. It's also allowed Chris Buescher to catch him, and Corey LaJoie there as well. A solid 5-driver free-for-all for the lead here at Watkins Glen.
And a couple of 2-packs at the top of the S's start to string back together as McDowell, the 3rd car in line, closes back in on Shane Van Gisbergen, who runs 2nd in a 16. Everybody mirroring each other as smoothly as they can through the bus stop. This is where SVG has been good. Right here through the carousel, able to keep that car hugged to the right, gets a good run off the corner. Chastain a little better this time out of 5.
I'm incredibly impressed at the speed of these two front-running cars. They have older tires. All we heard all week long is how the tires wear out, they lose speed. They stayed out on older tires, and they've been able to remain first and second. Great speed from them.
Keep your eye on this car here, the BuildSubmarines.com Ford from RFK of Chris Buescher, working on fellow Ford driver Michael McDowell. Pressure is on to try and get that third spot, and we wait for the first two to pit.
I want to be an actor.
So why don't you act like a good sister and get me some more of those baby back ribs?
I want to be a director now. Let's try a scene where you go get your own. And action.
And cut.
A lot of drama on this set. Action.
And cut.
Maybe I'll just go get wings for everybody.
Reputations are earned. They're built with hard work, time, and consistency. They're respected. Trusted. I'm just a traveler on this earth. They're real, and they're rare. Introducing Traveler Whiskey, the result of reputation.
Valvoline Restore and Protect, a first-of-its-kind innovation that returns pistons to factory clean by removing up to 100% of deposits. Restore your engine to perform like new. Restore and Protect, another first from Valvoline.
Look at that Wendy's breakfast burrito. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, sausage. Gotta hand it to the tortilla. That sucker's holding on for dear life. The boss of breakfast, gotta be Wendy's.
Here we are driving down the road, and all of a sudden, bang! Oh! There's a crack in our windshield. You know what we can do now, though, right? Go to safelight.com. And we're good to go.
Hey guys, I'll be replacing the windshield for you.
Can we go in there with you?
New cars come with cameras that could control your automatic braking systems and lane departures, which you do need to get recalibrated when you get your windshield replaced.
If you get a crack in your windshield, there's only one choice.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
Safe Light Repair, Safe Light Replace.
You know what's crazy?
That this is better than cooking at home? I mean, more affordable than groceries.
Of course.
Good.
Groceries are expensive.
Thought I was in trouble there for a sec.
Oh, you are.
Fridays.
Top notch, extraordinary.
USA is the new home of Friday Night SmackDown.
Making big moves, making big moves. I've been making big moves, making big moves.
It all goes down on Friday Night SmackDown. Live Fridays at 8, only on USA.
Making big moves.
You saw it all unfolding in non-stop. There's finally a change towards the front, and those tires are wearing out for Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen, because here comes Chris Buescher. The 17 is flying on much fresher tires.
Look at the footwork, bottom right. You see middle pedal on the brake, using the throttle off the corners, and he'll tap them on the downshifts.
Parker, what you got?
Shane Van Gisbergen just came on the radio and said the tires are really going down. Everyone wondered how far you could go on these. Everyone in practice only did about 15 laps, and a lot of crew chiefs asked the question, is there a cliff, and when these tires fall off? Well, these guys are basically at 40 laps to 1 of the 16.
40 total, 30 green, and for sure you're starting to see them go away. But until they start to lose too much track position as Buescher cleaves Chastain, what a great move.
And Chastain's time at the front has come to an end. Ross has led more laps here today than his entire road course career. Baggy, it's been fun at the front, but there's a new man up there now.
Yeah, it is, and it's Chris Buescher trying to move away, and Shane Van Gisbergen in the 16 car just trying to hang on to his race car with those tires that are starting to fade. Michael McDowell right in front of him there in the 34. He gets by, and there's two more that are lined up behind SVG.
I've been able to watch how aggressively the 1 and 16 have charged through this bus stop, just trying to hold on to track position the last couple laps. Both of them using a lot of curbing, just trying to stay in front of Buescher. Now Chastain trying to hold off Michael McDowell in that 34, and Shane Van Gisbergen has got Corey LaJoie and Carson Hocevar at his back bumper as they all run second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth on screen.
See Denny Hamlin on pit road. See SVG's hands out the window, letting everybody know that he is going to pit this time.
And here he comes. They made it last so well for so long. Ross Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen, who will be teammates at Trackhouse next year as SVG steps up to Cup full time. Parker, they're coming your way. Tell us more.
Right, Lee, and the 16 basically fell off a cliff there as he comes to pit road. Could not go any further. Also, we saw the 11 on pit road. He had a left rear tire coming apart from tire rub on the bodywork, Kim.
And both Ross Chastain making a stop as well. Ross saying he's still tight in the right and left-handers, could use more forward drive. The rear, though, he said, is hanging on pretty good. It's going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires. They will wait on fuel. As you see, Chase Briscoe on the bottom just said, I need a little bit more lateral on exit. Overall, though, the car very good. 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Chase Briscoe.
Now everyone in the field from this point can make it on fuel. So when you come to pit road, really determine, you know, how many guys have pitted. So if the caution comes out, you would lose track position to them. How important do you think Goodyear tires are? Right now, if you pit, you're going to have to run about 31 laps on this final set if you don't want to come back to pit road. So I don't think we're going to see as many pit on the same lap as we normally do. I think they're going to trickle in 5 or 6, 7 at a time over the next maybe 5 or 8 laps.
Well, especially now with knowing, as Chris Buescher dives, knowing all well and good how far Chastain and Van Gisbergen could go. And then they saw that definite drop-off. Parker?
As we see Chris Buescher hit pit lane here, this is maybe a reaction to seeing the 1 and the 16 come down pit road as they're going to be ripping fast lap times on those newer tires. The 34 team actually came on the radio and said, we expect those guys to be slower at the end of the run. So this is the idea of putting these newer tires on now and having the faster lap times against the older tires out there.
31 to go here at the Glen. How's this going to work out? I tell you what's working out pretty well is Carson Hocevar. He is on the same strategy as Michael McDowell. There he is right there. And his teammate Corey LaJoie. He has been flying, the 21-year-old. He's got truck experience here. First time in a Cup car here at the Glen, and he's loving it. And he started a long way back. He has made up 33 spots. The Ashley Furniture drivers on the move, and there's no one better than Carson Hocevar.
Super impressive. We talk a lot about strategy, but for the 77 and the 7, it's been really good decisions on pit road, smooth pit stops, no penalties, and just kind of raw speed. As now we see the 77. This is what I mentioned. Kind of eyedroppers, 2 or 3 at a time. I like the 77 here. They're going to try to counter the pit stops of the 1 and the 16.
Yeah, coming down pit road has been a nice day for Carson Hocevar so far. And Steve, a lot of crew chiefs are thinking about they would love to pit in this range as well, but they're really worried about the tires, not so much speed-wise, but wear-wise. So a lot of crew chiefs running a little bit longer here and leaving their driver out, Kim.
And the 24, William Byron in. Remember that last stop, they made big changes, changed the rear bar. This run way better for William Byron. Right now, the plan just to pit for 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. They will go on the jack.
Been a pretty determined comeback from the 24 team, the defending race winner here at Watkins Glen. There's his teammate Alex Bowman. Look at this chaos here at the inner loop.
Well, you got Logano, Larson, and Zane Smith, who still believe that they are on the front end of this strategy, pitting at 48. They feel like one yellow, they can try to connect it to the finish. And they have run in the Hornet's nest this entire run.
Christopher Bell right there in the DeWalt number 20 for JGR. Remember, he was caught up in that opening lap chaos where he was turned around. There's contact there with Austin Dillon.
And I don't think Dillon liked it. He's giving the 20 a couple shots right here like, hey, man.
Might have another one here.
Yeah.
Might have another one here. Dillon is making, oh, and he does give him one.
Wow. I think there was something wrong with the 20. He was so
Bell was
slow.
trying to come to pit road, Steve. He was trying to come to pit road that time.
Bell trying to come to pit road. The 3 to his right side. And the 3's not going to lift and let him across. The 20 gets spun out, gets to pit road now to service of his crew, Marty.
Boy, what an eventful day for Christopher Bell. Diff, you mentioned that wreck early on in the race, and they really haven't been that good of a car today either. Normally so solid at the road courses. We're going to try to get the best finish that they can, Parker.
Saw Ty Gibbs going away from there. They chose to hit pit road here. Remember, got 4th place stage points in stage 2 and feel like this is the strategy that puts them in the best finishing position.
What else you want to happen today, Stevie?
Oh, we still got 29 to go.
Keep in mind, stage 1 was 20 laps, stage 2, 20 laps. This is the longest at 50. This is Michael McDowell, the race leader for Front Row Motorsports in that Benabone Ford.
Chasing down Danny Hamlin, who's had
a nightmare day.
Yeah, quite the day. As you see another car peel off and come to pit road, one of the SHR cars. Looks like the 10.
Noah Gregson's had a good day. Qualified in the top 10. That's his best ever qualifying on a road course. Kim, tell us more.
Yeah, he has had a good day. Really, no major complaints. Just could use a little bit more lateral grip, a little snug in the middle. But this car very good on the long run right now. We're going to take fresh tires and Sunoco fuel. No major adjustments for Noah Gragson.
Chase Elliott in as well. Don't feel like we've really spoken a lot today about the 9. There's just been so much else going on. But today is all about damage mitigation, gathering some points and taking a little bit of pressure off you heading to Bristol next week. Meanwhile, Michael McDowell has cleared Danny Hamlin, who was back in 34th place. McDowell has a 2.2 second lead over Corey LaJoie. LaJoie's teammate Hocevar pitted. We saw that on board, but thanks to Toyota and Martin Truex Jr. Sits third at the moment.
It really had a monster day. I mean, Truex has scored 10 points in the stages. He came in 19 below. Both below that yellow line. Looks like they're coming to pit road. That's what it looks like off the rear bumper of Truex. Looking back at Josh Berry, Marty.
Comes from third, as Diff mentioned, but during the cycle when everybody else was out there, ran about 8th, but the highest running playoff driver. And this was a team that was really worried about tire wear. Truex has had problems with the left rear cording all day long, so that's why James Fall wanted to leave him out. But this will be the longest run of the day for Truex. We'll check his tires too when they get over this side of pit wall, Kim.
As you see Alex Bowman coming in, they've had a great 2 weeks. Alex saying feeling really good with the car right now, so it's just going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel for Alex Bowman.
The Chicago Street Race winner, the Ally Chevrolet, Hendrick Motorsports, more valuable points to consolidate his spot in the playoffs, heading to Bristol and to advance to the next round. He is in the middle of the top 12, and that's pretty nice. All right, so here we go. Christopher Bell in the yellow car on the right-hand side of your screen. Kyle Larson on the outside. The green machine in the background. There's the first bit of contact between Austin Dillon and Christopher Bell.
So he's pushing and he's shoving, and the 20 right here, I think, is trying to get to the right to come to pit road, but he moves left. I don't know if he was kind of shoved that way. Doesn't know that the 3's there. But either way, the 3 is trying to pass the 20. He doesn't know or doesn't care, maybe, that the 20's coming to pit road. So as the 20 turns left and slows down, the 3's picking up the gas to leave the corner. He was running 12th with all that happened.
Just forklifted it around. And that's a shame for Christopher Bell because he was running 12th after that comeback from the opening lap incident. So again, another example of a costly day for yet another playoff driver. Michael McDowell, unfortunately, is not in the playoffs. But a win is a win, and if he can drive his front row forward to a victory here at the Glen, that'd be special.
All right, left side, you see last pit, McDowell, LaJoie, Cindric, yet to pit, Logano, Smith, Larson, Keselowski, trying to stretch tires and fuel. First car, green light, Chris Buescher, 14th.
Love your phone, but not the cost of your current plan? No problem with Straight Talk. Bring the phone you love and get one line for $25 a month when you switch to Straight Talk. That's up to half off the price of the competition. Plus, the best part of all, get a $200 credit for a new phone after 12 months. With Straight Savings, you save now and later. It just makes sense. Straight Talk. Real unlimited data. Less dollars, more cents.
Ally has savings buckets to help you save for anything you want to buy. Because everyone has something they're saving for. Like that new car. Or a fancy vacation. Or party supplies. Your delivery budget. Or even the down payment on your dream home. Our savings buckets help you save for what matters most to you.
Welcome to Applebee's. Can I interest you in America's favorite boneless wings for just 50 cents each?
I'll have the 50-cent bone.
Cover your mouth. They could steal your order.
I'll have the 50-cent boneless wings.
I'll have the same.
Perfect. They'll never see it coming.
This isn't just a race. For Chevy, this is science at 180 miles an hour. Physics, AI, and machine learning. And this is our lab where we're testing more than our cars. We're testing ourselves. Because what we learn here helps push us forward out there. From the track to the street, Chevy's got you. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
After the 26-week grind, 16 gather. Heroes, hopefuls, hot shots, hot heads. Their demeanor may vary. Their determination does not. Fortune brought them to this moment. Now, it's up to them. The NASCAR playoffs continue at Bristol on USA.
Exciting careers are available now nationwide, bringing the next generation of U.S. Navy submarines to life. If you're looking for a stable, impactful career, visit buildsubmarines.com. We build giants because it takes one to build one. And there is the buildsubmarines.com forward of Chris Buescher, who's enjoying a really solid run here as we welcome you back to the Go Bowling at the Glen NASCAR playoffs. Well and truly alive, like this race has been epic in many ways. Hasn't been so great for a lot of playoff drivers, Marty, but it hasn't been too bad for Austin Cindric.
The forever pit cycle continues, Lee, with Austin Cindric coming down pit road. Brian Wilson wanted to cut this way more in half, so this is going to be 23 laps on this set of tires for Austin Cindric to go to the end, who said the car is really good. We'll see what progress he makes when he comes back out on the track.
So why run longer? Well, the risk is a yellow. Cars will probably stay out. You'll have to pit. The advantage is now he'll have those fresher Goodyear tires as we see kind of a sprint to the finish, or I call it a sprint, 23 laps to go. Corey LaJoie continues to run out here with the lead. What a drive by Corey LaJoie.
Pitting this time in the Gainbridge Chevy. And they're going to have to keep an eye out in the background with this, like Marty said, ever cycling pit stop rotation. They're going to have to keep an eye out. In position 11, car 16, Van Gisbergen is more than a second quicker than anybody in front of him. As LaJoie comes to the pits on board with thanks to WeatherTech. SVG has been slicing them up since that last stop.
So if we look at the leaderboard, let's kind of update you now that we have 23 to go, what the plan is and what everyone needs from here, right? So Joey Logano is leading the race, last on pit road at 48. Smith the same, Larson, Keselowski, Suarez. We see LaJoie continue to drop. They're trying to nurse their fuel and their tires, maybe all the way to the end. If we get a yellow, they may choose to pit, but the strategy is to kind of nurse them. On board with SVG, he's trying to push them. So back to the rundown, you see Buescher in 6th, Hocevar in 7th, SVG in 9th. That's kind of the freshest tire trying to happen. Is now in SVG with an aggressive move off the S's, heading in front of Dillon in the bus stop.
And both of these cars, the 77 and 16, good on fuel, so they'd love to get around the 3 of Austin Dillon here through the bus stop. Hocevar does, and he gets away. Austin Dillon, a roadblock for Shane Van Gisbergen right now. SVG gives him a wave, finally gets around him as they enter the carousel, and now these cars that you see on screen, Van Gisbergen and Hocevar, full attack as they try to charge through the field.
Yeah, you can see the difference in new tires and old tires. Up the S's, there was nothing Austin Dillon could do against that. Now this battle rages side by side, the 3 of the 21. They're both pretty much on the same tires. Wonder when they're going to pit. Both of those guys kind of on the same strategy as Logano at the moment.
And keep an eye out for Chris Buescher as well, because remember Buescher got by Chastain and Shane Van Gisbergen, so it's Buescher, Hocevar, Van Gisbergen all pitted in the same neighborhood. Bagman.
Right now, Buescher is up to the 6th position. He's got some open racetrack to work with. That should allow him to perhaps maybe close in on Daniel Suarez and Brad Keselowski. Here's Buescher. A lot of open real estate. Dillon in front of him.
And he was very efficient after that pit cycle of getting through some of this slower traffic that still on the lead lap and at pace, but the tire advantage much more pronounced for Buescher here as he works into turn number 5. Just ahead of him up the road there, that's Brad Keselowski and Daniel Suarez. They're 4th and 5th on the racetrack, but Buescher is tracking them down.
Yeah, Buescher will be the leader if he can get by these guys, or if when they pit, he will be leading this strategy. Behind him, Hocevar, SVG, Chastain. The question is, can any of these guys that pitted on lap 48, can they stretch it 21 more laps?
They're all going to try, Jeff. I don't think they're comfortable with their fuel position, but they're within like a handful, 2 or 3 or 4 short. The question is, if you just don't think you can make it, don't run so long on the tires, as now we see Larson jumping off that onto another plan.
Parker?
Right, guys, that's what Cliff Daniels said. We weren't going to make it, so they're going to come down to pit road here for Kyle Larson, the 5, trying to recover from that incident down in turn 1 where they got sent to the back. We've watched him all day trying to muscle his way through the field, and we'll see now where he rejoins.
And if you hadn't heard the news earlier this week, it's good news. If you're a Kyle Larson fan, he's going to do the double again, the Indianapolis 500, the Coke 600 next year. And there's that collaboration between Hendrick Motorsports and the Arrow McLaren IndyCar team. It kind of got a little bit, got a wet blanket thrown on it this year at the Charlotte end of the deal. He did so well at Indianapolis, and he's going to try it again. And I think he's got a good shot at doing it, weather permitting.
Yeah, his pace was so impressive. And I think what they call it unfinished business. This is the trouble right here for the 17 of Buescher. As we see it, SVG and Hocevar. How about Hocevar? Kind of, you know, SVG got by him, and Hocevar's chasing him down, trying to figure out a pace, trying to learn from the road course veteran in front of him. But Buescher's problem is he's a little hung up now behind the 99 to 6, as now we see the 71 pit. So as Jeff Burton pointed out, will they try to stretch it? We're starting to see more and more guys abandon that plan.
Suarez is in, Parker's there.
Yeah, what a recovery for this 99 team. Remember, they spun out at the end of stage 2, went a lap down, got back to lead lap, and found themselves in the top 5 as it starts to cycle through, pitting for the top 5 position there, putting 4 Goodyear tires in Sunoco field. We'll see where he rejoins, but they were not going to make it on fuel.
Teammate and teammate here, one in the playoffs, one not. And the boss man, Brad Keselowski, moves over and lets Chris Buescher through as he continues to make progress. It's a chase down between Buescher and Van Gisbergen. Hocevar and Chastain staying in there. 19 to go. As we welcome you back to the Glen, let's take a look at the Toyota driver update. And we put the spotlight on Martin Truex Jr. of Joe Gibbs Racing. This, if he can stay where he is, or maybe even get into the top 10, it would be his first top 10 since Pocono, some 7-8 races ago. It has been a frustrating, to say the least, time for the 19 team when they know they've got the speed, they know they've got a good car, and maybe today is the end of that bad luck run for the 19. Meanwhile, at the front, Joey Logano, Chris Buescher. The man who leads the playoff standings up against the driver who narrowly missed out.
Watching Christopher Buescher open up the inside lane. He's going to dive to the inside of the 22 of Logano, and Buescher will take the lead. Logano's just got to let him go. He can't challenge that move right there at the beginning of the S's. And once Buscher's grabbed the lead in the 17, he is pulled away by 4, by 5, by 6 car lengths. Dillon, he has put those Ford sails in the wind, and Chris Buescher is gone.
No contest for sure. The tires for Buescher definitely paying advantage for him as he is continuing to gap Logano through the bus stop. As the rest of the cars work into the bus stop, now we have Kaz Grala spun around at the exit of turn number 7. He is off the racing line. We'll have to see if this is going to bring out a caution or not. He's able to get going, but heavy damage to the rear end of that 15 car.
Heavy damage, man. He had to make some real significant contact.
Heavy rear end damage. Yeah, he destroyed us. That's it.
He said he destroyed us. Somebody must have gotten the back of Kaz Grala and sent him off into that final corner. Let's take a look. Oh, looks like that.
Daniel Hemrick?
Yeah. Well, I don't know what the disagreement was between them.
And there's a pretty straightforward example of older tires versus fresher ones. Joey Logano lighting it up off the final turn, and Buescher having a better run and able to break a little deeper and get on the inside.
I really think with 16 to go, what you're looking at, assuming we run green, is can SVG or the one of Chastain run down Buescher, namely SVG. He's gotten by Chastain. He's gotten by Hocevar. It's SVG, the aggressor, Dylan, trying to run down the 17 of Buescher.
And he got by Brad Keselowski a lap ago right here in this part of the racetrack. So SVG runs third right now. There's Logano. He'll catch him probably in less than a lap and shouldn't have any issues getting by him. Logano's still on that fuel save with older tires, but he's got to get by him soon. 15 to go this time by for SVG if he's going to run down Buescher.
SVG has a little more pace, in my opinion, left in his car. We've seen that from him. He's able to save a little tire, have a little bit pace later in the run. I think that's one of the skills that he possesses. We got to take advantage. You see the 77, the one going at it.
The gap only came down by about 1/10 of a second from Buescher to Van Gisbergen, as you see Hocevar fighting here with Ross Chastain. Kim Kuhn.
Brad Keselowski currently running in that 4th position. They last stopped on 48. So what are they telling their driver? Take a listen.
Matt, how many to go until we start saving a little? I'm doing it about 4 more laps, just a little each time, and we'll let go if it's enough. Okay, thank you. If we can make it, it's going to be about 21st or 22nd.
So that team 1 lap short. Brad needing to trying to salvage their day after a number of pit road mistakes here at the Glen.
Keselowski working out of the bus stop right now with Hocevar behind him in the 5th spot. Shane Van Gisbergen just got by Joey Logano at the entry to the bus stop. He goes to 2nd.
The SVG, he is now clear. Buescher's in front of him. He can see him. There's no cars in between them. Now he can see his target. Now go get him.
And that's come down, Jeff, from 4.9 seconds to 4.1 just in the last lap. So that has been a big chunk taken off. Buescher to Van Gisbergen. The race is on. He got pushed around, shoved around in the Xfinity race yesterday. He wants revenge today.
I want to be an actor.
So why don't you act like a good sister and get me some more of those baby back ribs?
I want to be a director now. Let's try a scene where you go get your own. And action.
And cut.
A lot of drama on this set.
Action.
And cut.
Maybe I'll just go get wings for everybody.
You looking for a little trouble? You like watching things get broken? Like barriers? Glass ceilings? And records? Then this playoff season, we're looking for you.
Join us at Toyota Racing. Valvoline Restore and Protect, a first-of-its-kind innovation that returns pistons to factory clean by removing up to 100% of deposits. Restore your engine to perform like new. Restore and Protect, another first from Valvoline.
The Barn Bar. The county's best hangout just got better. Here's to living smooth with the always smooth, easy drinking Keystone Light.
A message from the Sonic Department of Research and Delicioussement.
They say you can't put a price on fun, but they don't know what the heck they're talking about. Fun's now $1.99 at Sonic with creamy queso wraps and more. Take that, they. The Fun 99 menu. 5 items, always $1.99.
It's Pod's biggest sale of the summer. Save up to 25% on moving and storage for a limited time. And see why Pods has been trusted with over 6 million moves. But don't wait. Use promo code BIG25 to save. Visit pods.com today.
You know what's crazy?
That this is better than cooking at home? I mean, more affordable than groceries.
Of course.
Good.
Groceries are expensive.
Thought I was in trouble there for a sec.
Oh, you are.
I'm putting together a party for Frank Moulton, the Black Godfather. I'm thinking Black Vegas.
Move it, baby.
I don't think you got any idea who you stealing from. These is heavy hitters that they rob.
stealing from me, y'all going home in a box.
Another reminder that this Friday, the NASCAR Xfinity Series comes to the CW. It all begins in Bristol when our friend and Hall of Famer Dale Earnhardt Jr. joins the regular field against the series top drivers. It's the end of the regular season, by the way, in the Xfinity Series. Racing from Bristol, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific, only on the CW. And if you need to find your local CW station, head to thecw.com/NASCAR. As we continue the Go Bowling here at the Glen, Watkins Glen in New York. Lee Diffie, Steve Letarte with you. Jeff Burton is out on turn 6. Dylan Welsh, the bagman, Mike Bagley. We're doing it radio style, and we're doing it racing to the end. Just 4 seconds between Chris Buescher and Shane Van Gisbergen. The Texan and the New Zealander at the front of this race. Who's going to look after their tires the best over these closing 12 laps?
Yeah, SVG has maybe a 10th or 2, sometimes 3/10 better pace. Can he keep that for the 10 laps? And is that enough? Buescher has a 4-second gap with now 11 to go.
We're all going to be watching what SVG can do on those aging tires and whatnot as there's trouble on the racetrack. Looks like Harrison Burton overshot the inner loop, and Dylan, he's got more problems.
Yeah, he's got a left rear that's flat, and he's going to come out of the bus stop with nobody really around him. Kyle Busch will go around his inside, but he is under power going through the carousel. Just going to be a matter of that tire can stay together for Harrison.
And that's why we're seeing cars on pit road kind of gambling that this tire will come off and end up in a spot where the caution has to be waived. He's coming down the backstretch in front of Jeff. Bad luck for your son, but the left rear so far staying on.
So far it stayed on. Lots of debris coming off of it. I think NASCAR is going to be put in a spot here. Leader coming right behind him. Rubber on the racetrack. Here comes Chris Buescher. Here comes SVG. The main tire is still on the car, though. Will it come off right? There's the caution.
Oh, and what a break for the 2 cars that were on pit road. Keselowski and Logano jumped to pit road, assuming there would be a yellow. They get a yellow because of that tire debris. Let's see exactly what happens. Coming down the back straightaway. Oh, the flat tire before the bus stop. Nothing the driver could do. Actually did a nice job keeping the car under control and keeping it straight.
Stevie, Steve, a bad break for the 21, because had that caution come out 4 or 5 seconds before, they could have stayed on the lead lap. However, when you cause the caution, you cannot be the first car lap down.
And Jeff Harrison is the 10th different playoff driver affected by something today. It has been highly eventful for the 16 playoff drivers. Chris Buescher's 4-second lead has evaporated. That gives Shane Van Gisbergen another shot as we enter the final 10 laps.
It's going to be really fascinating because tires are definitely better, but how much better, right? You're not going to drive from 25th to the win.
Right.
But if you had brand new tires in 10th, you know, the leaders have 21, 22 laps on their tires. So who thinks they have to come to pit road? Who doesn't? We saw Logano and Keselowski, so we know they're going to stay out. Listen, I don't think Buescher pits. So SVG doesn't pit.
While we've got this order of Buescher, Van Gisbergen, Hocevar, McDowell, and Chastain, all non-playoff drivers, how about the 14, the Stewart-Haas Ford of Chase Briscoe? He's in 6th place at the moment. Here he is here in the High Point Ford. Kim made a mention before that in his corner, he's got Joey Hand, the road course specialist, the sports car champion, former DTM driver. Joey's here, and he is a major help to Chase. Chase loves having him around. He said, I've learned so much from him. Joey was here as part of a test a little while ago, and when you've got somebody with that many road course accolades, and from the sports car world, etc. Remember, Joey led quite a few laps at Chicago. He won stage 2. He finished 4th or 7th, and so this is building. And to Chase Briscoe's credit, Steve, after he was taken out earlier, he said, it's okay. The way that these next list of tracks lay out for me, I'm still feeling confident.
Well, I mean, for good reason. Currently 3 points above the cut line with how he's performing today.
And if you don't remember what we were talking about, he was taken out in that Kyle Larson wreck last weekend when Kyle had that huge crash coming off turns 1 and 2. Chase was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's going to be an interesting decision. I think the leaders have no choice. They're going to have to stay on the racetrack, but somebody somewhere is going to split this field up and say they want to be on offense, not defense. Who will it be? Truex in 9th, Elliott in 12th, Larson in 15th? Will it be further back or further forward? Who will be the first guy that feels that their day will be best suited with fresh Goodyears? Truex, a little bit of a head fake. The Hendrick teammates, Byron and Chase Elliott, come to pit road, and this is what happens. They kind of start the funnel, and the majority behind them join. Kim?
And for Chase Elliott and teammate William Byron, both these teams knowing they couldn't win with what they had on the car. Really no good option for them. So why not come on, put fresh Goodyear tires on those cars. Chase Elliott reporting just a little bit snug. William Byron as he gets 4 fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, as does his teammate. Also in both of their teammates, Alex Bowman. Alex, overall just tight both in the left and right-handers. Again, another call where did not feel like they could win from about 20th position, so put fresh rubber on and see what you can do with it.
This is all setting up for a dramatic finish, as dramatic as this Go Bowling race here at the Glen started. And a reminder that you can join NASCAR's free rewards program and start earning points that turn into member-only rewards. You can earn every time you check in for a race, trade points in for free tickets, exclusive gear, autographed merchandise, and one-of-a-kind race day experiences by simply visiting NASCAR.com/fan rewards. When you guys were busy working in the Xfinity Series yesterday, I was there. I went and sat in the stands as a fan and just listened to what people have to say. Fans here all around the country and here at Watkins Glen, so enthusiastic, so passionate, and especially this. The visit to the Glen every year is iconic. It has become iconic over the decades. It's at a different time of year. This year it's a little bit later, first time in the playoffs, but it's worked. It's worked out great. And while we've got a little bit of time, I want to remind you about the SMX playoffs. Well, the playoffs are done. They go straight to World Championship mode. Yes, it was another eventful race evening last night in Texas. If you haven't seen it and you want to watch it, block your ears, because Hunter Lawrence, it was Jet Lawrence last week. Hunter Lawrence won last night. Good stuff. Both brothers have had a win in the playoffs. It leads it to Las Vegas and the Super Motocross World Championship decider. That is Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, live on Peacock. In fact, all 31 rounds of the SMX World Championship have been live on Peacock, and there'll be an encore presentation at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. It's just the second year of this format, where you carry your points through from the Supercross season to the Pro Motocross season, and it all funnels down to the final 3. And the final 3, 2 are done, Stevie. The big one's left.
The big one's left. I love the format. I love the pressure. I love combining kind of the indoor and the outdoor seasons. Gives the fans just so much great motorcycle racing to finish the year.
Okay, so you've got a Xfinity Series champion from several years ago who sits at the head of this field, up against a 3-time Supercars champion and a Bathurst 1000 winner. By the way, Shane Van Gisbergen's partner, Jess, who moved to the US with him, Jess has got her dad here. And her dad just happens to be Roland Dane, who created the Red Bull 888 engineering supercar powerhouse that Van Gisbergen used to drive for. So for Roland Dane and his daughter Jess, they're looking forward to watching this man here potentially drive to victory lane.
Well, yesterday it was another Red Bull athlete, Connor Zilic, winning in his first ever race. Another youngster, Carson Hocevar, our youngest guy in the field today. He's running right there in 3rd. That black car, the 15 Mobil 1 on the hood, that's Juan Pablo Montoya. He got the free pass, so he'll be driving past, which will put Hocevar right there in the 3rd position.
I think Marty told us earlier that Montoya had a suspected puncture. Marty, I think that's the reason that took him out, because he was on the lead lap. He was in the top 10 earlier.
Yeah, he at one point had a flat. That's what happened to Juan Montoya. Let's talk about Martin Truex Jr. He was certainly a focus before the race came in, 19 below the cut line. And I go back to what happened in stage 1. They won that stage, got those 10 points, and because of that, you see it on the left-hand side of your screen. Right now, Truex +1 above the cut line. And they asked him a moment ago, hey, how are the tires? He said, not great. But James Small kept him out, Kim, saying, hey, you got to hang on to it for these final few laps.
Yeah, it has been a roller coaster of a day for Brad Keselowski. As you see, the point stand -1. That's where they came in. I think that's actually a good thing based on how bad of a day this team has had. They've had 2 pit road penalties, speeding, and then a tire outside of the box. Despite that, have tried to salvage their day. They caught a break with that caution being already on pit road. So Brad Keselowski currently sits in the 18th position, Parker, with 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
And so does Ty Gibbs, having 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Remember, he came into this race just +1 above the cut line. The team told me they didn't feel like they maybe had the speed to win. They wanted to get those points. They were able to do that in stage 2, finishing 4th in that stage. He recently just came down pit road to get tires because he had flat spotted that last set. They'll see what positions they can make up here, sitting just 1 point below the cut line as they currently run, Kim.
Let's talk about the great day that Chase Briscoe is having. Got stage points in both stages. They are making this a 2-stop strategy race. Great call by crew chief Richard Boswell. That was from some input, though, by his driver, Chase Briscoe. And like Lee said, he's been working with Joey Hand all week long, perfecting his lines, perfecting his cross. Joey actually still here, actually sending information to the team on what Chase can do better throughout this. But this team had such a good attitude coming into this race. They came in -21. Right now they sit +4. I asked them what that points detriment kind of means for their mentality. They said it actually was not as bad as what they thought after what happened in Atlanta. They said it's very doable. We're seeing that in action right here.
How about that black, yellow, and blue Gainbridge Chevrolet from Spire Motorsports? Corey LaJoie's never had a top 10 on a road course. His best overall Cup career result is a 4th. He has been constantly near the front. Shout out to Ryan Preece just beside him as well. Preece is in the top 10, coming to the start-finish where they're going to have just 7 laps to go here at the Glen. Carson Hocevar in the mix. And let's get ready to go. How's it going to work out? Who's going to behave themselves? Who's not? Who's got the speed? Who's got the better tires? Time to bring the action at the Glen. Let's go. Chris Buescher with an excellent placement of his car, but it opens up that inside line back to SVG.
SVG had an open lane, but he wasn't close enough to capitalize. Instead, it's Chris Buescher. He'll punch his way through to the lead. Hocevar now second. SVG is third. They're going to stack them up double wide for fourth. A couple of white and blue cars there at the top of your screen. Chastain and Briscoe, and there's trouble further back. William Byron gets launched up onto the retaining wall. Brad Keselowski's involved. Everybody else will find their way through, but William Byron up and in the air with Keselowski pinned underneath.
My goodness. The defending race winner, William Byron, playoff driver, William Byron, playoff driver, Brad Keselowski. The craziness at the Glen continues. We posed the question right at the beginning of the day. Would this be a wild card race that had an impact on the overall playoff picture? The answer is a resounding yes.
Absolutely. Good to see both cars drive away. It was a scary situation where that right front tire of the 24 ended up kind of up there near the door top. Window net still intact. You see now the damage kind of behind the window net on the quarter panel for the 6. Let's take a look at what happened. There it is, the orange and blue car side by side with Logano. Oh, Logano kind of gets into the 6 or vice versa, but either way, man, what a hit for the 24.
It was super tight. That is such a funnel through there. It is way tighter than it appears on television. And there was nothing between it. Here's the view from Tyler Reddick. Look up ahead.
Very, very fortunate for the 24, the double height of the Armco there, the extra third layer, not just a normal 2-height Armco, but a triple height Armco. You see all the way at the top of it. That gets very, very scary if he gets above that Armco into the catch fence. Fortunately, not the case. It's so hard to tell, we see the beating and banging. I don't know who's in the appropriate lane. It's so, you said, narrow and S's.
Yeah. It's just a funnel, right? It's just a tunnel up there. And by the way, that section is blind when you're coming up there and coming around to the right. And William had just gone to the left of Logano. Logano kind of got hung up a little bit on Brad Keselowski, and it all unfolded, unfortunately, for the 24.
I have no steering to the right.
There are some beaten up race cars and some beaten up playoff points.
He said he has no steer in the right. He can't get it over to come to pit road, so he's probably just going to have to stop and get a tow. Let's listen into the 22 of Joey Logano, kind of slightly involved as well.
I had to squeeze in there. There's no room. I got caught in a 4 lanes high. They don't clean the freaking track. They gotta clean the track. You get in that stuff, then you can't turn. And then you get back to where you gotta turn left, and it still doesn't turn.
So Joey we talked all day about these Goodyear tires and the marbles they create, which that's what they look like right here. They're blowing them off now, but when you take the tires and you go into those marbles, they stick, and basically instantly it's like trying to run on hardwoods and socks. Like, you just have no traction. There's nothing you can do. The harder you try, the harder you steer, the straighter you go, and that's what Joey Logano was saying. And he even says, even when you get back to the clear part, because that's stuck to your tire,
you can't come back.
You still have no control. So you see him right here, way kind of driver's left up into that loose stuff. And now he has to turn left, right? And he's saying, listen, I'm trying to turn left, and it's just kind of going straight.
And Keselowski was so unfortunate. He almost cleared Logano. There was just enough contact to tip him left, and William Byron thought he had a run on the left-hand side, only for that to be shut off. Wow.
'24 sitting on pit road, heavy damage. We're here in the 21. Harrison Burton, a playoff car, free pass. You don't have any idea how many points that could gain him in these chaotic finishes.
Yeah.
Byron came to pit road to get some fresh tires, along with his teammate, the 9 of Chase Elliott. Elliott passes 6 cars in this melee, and he's up to 14th. So he kind of got through at least that restart. We'll see if he can get through a second time.
I think that's about the 3rd incident that Brad Keselowski's been involved in today. Unfortunately for the 6th, he must be saying, what else is going to happen to me today? He was in it right from the very first lap. Look at the state of his race car. There's a lot of wounded cars out there, but he's going to keep pushing on with 5 to go.
So another interesting thing that happened there at the front of the field. Let's talk about SVG. So he decided, he was running second at the choose.
Yep.
He decided to line up behind Buescher.
Yes.
The 77 took the front row.
Yep.
Well, whether it was going to work or doesn't work, it doesn't matter at this point. But in the few corners they ran before the caution came out, SVG lost a position to Hocevar in that cycle. So you see right-hand side of the front row, Hocevar, left side, SVG. I kind of like driver's right because he doesn't think he's going to get run over or spun out. You know, if I'm SVG, I think we're going to get out into clear traffic, and I'm going to try to show my talent, show my speed, and run Buescher down. But in the end, it just wasn't enough racing. He kind of has to concede to the 77 right here going through the S's. The 77 does a nice job, and then the wreck's going to be behind them. So now we'll see where the 77 chooses. Does he take the front row, or does he allow SVG the front row?
Great point. And look, while we've got this moment, you hear us week in, week out talk about the big teams, Hendrick Motorsports, Team Penske, JGR, whatever it might be. Let's take this moment to give a shout out for Spire Motorsports, because at the moment, all 3 of their drivers are in the top 10. Carson Hocevar in 2nd at the moment. LaJoy having a great race in 9th, and Smith in 10th. Well done.
Yeah, LaJoy knows he's not returning to the 7. That's been announced. Gainbridge came on about a year ago. When Gainbridge came on, and then Carson Hocevar, they've continued to grow this organization from really just a small fledgling company, right? This is way back in the charter process. They just started to run their own race team about 4 or 5 years ago, and an impressive move. They've continued to make moves to get drivers, to get crew chiefs. Doug Ducard, a former executive of both Hendrick and Chip Ganassi, is now an executive over at Spire, helping kind of orchestrate. When you start to talk about a 3-car organization at the Cup level, it's hundreds of moving parts. It takes a lot to put it together.
Michael McDowell is headed there next year. And we are headed to Bristol Motor Speedway next weekend.
Yeah, it's not on accident that they have Bristol as the cutoff race for the first round of our playoffs.
The atmosphere of Bristol is just unlike any other.
I'm ready to rip somebody's freaking head off.
If you're close or outside looking in, you gotta be pretty aggressive and not just survive, you have to conquer it.
Bristol, baby, hell yeah! What a race, let's go! Yeah!
That's awesome. Bristol night, baby. Hell yeah, boys. Great work, DH. For the love of the game, it is the Bristol night race. Yes!
Well, there were 54 lead changes there in March. So, can you imagine what next weekend's going to be like? By the way, to talk about that and a whole lot more, NBC Sports on Sirius XM, you know it. It's NASCAR Radio Channel 90, live Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern. It's our very own Marty Snyder to talk all things playoff. So, we highlighted last week just the complexion of these first three races in the playoffs. Atlanta, to the Glen, to Bristol. And it's not disappointing.
It's not disappointing. And you think about Bristol and what happened there in the spring. It was chaos. It was tires not lasting more than 40 or 50 laps. You would blow a tire. Hopefully, if the caution came out, you wouldn't be it. You really had to manage tire. And they're taking that same tire back. And so with all the chaos that this playoffs already, and this race isn't even over, 2 races in, has created, imagine going to Bristol. That's why I say that nobody should feel safe. It was wild in Bristol. You had no idea what's going to happen this time, and it's the night race at Bristol. And that, in and of itself, always creates excitement. Drivers throwing bottles at each other, fists at each other. It is pure chaos, and it's a ton of fun to watch.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You've never been. You've never seen Bristol appear from the Tennessee mountains.
Can't
There's
wait.
nothing like it when you drive down the road and see the Coliseum up there on the hill. Jeff, we're going to have to get Diff in a pace car at Bristol as well.
Oh, yeah, that's mandatory. It's, that is so much fun, and the history and the heritage of that race. And following this race and following Atlanta, this, in my eyes, is the best 3-race stretch we have ever had in the playoffs, because you think about the diversity of the racetracks. Every team has to bring their very best, and they got to bring it yet today. Still a lot of racing left. The choose is happening right now.
Well, as we come to the choose, let's take you on board with William Byron. Check out this view.
Oh. And it happened in a split second.
Almost got a second camera.
Yep. Sure did. Lights are out on the Camry pace car.
So Hocevar running second, still chose the front row. I like that move from Hocevar. I think you have a chance. You take a risk. SVG back to where he was, a restart to go.
This Go Bowling at the Glen playoff race has been nothing short of spectacular, with everything that's gone on from the very first lap of the 90 laps. When they come to the line and see the green, there will be just 3 laps to go. 7.5 miles to determine the winner of this one. The playoff drivers are wounded. Who's going to get the best result, and who is going to win this one? Waiting for the green.
Green.
Van Gisbergen gave Buscher a little bit of a bump, and it's hurt him because they open up that gap. He's going to have to go deep on the brakes. He's got Chastain on his outside. Mike Bagley, they're coming to you.
Chris Buscher breaks away with the lead again. Hocevar trying to hang on to second. He'll chop off Shane Van Gisbergen. But here's SVG on the attack. He'll look to the outside for a moment. And there's trouble further back. Tyler Reddick's around. Kyle Busch is involved. That's Reddick in the 45 and Busch in the 8. Trying to right their cars. Trouble mid-pack on back as everybody in front of them was able to escape.
We're going to overtime. That was right towards the back of the pack. How did it unfold?
How can you tell?
I know.
4 wide, total chaos. Oh, it looked like the 38. It starts with the 38 trying to get over for turn 2. He contacts the 9, who gets somebody to his left right there.
Got Elliott.
Yeah, Elliott, who gets Barry, and then they stack up. Truex, pretty hard damage into the wall. We'll see if the 19 has to come to the attention of the crew, and Reddick finally gets turned around on the nose of the 8.
Haley was behind Martin Truex. Here's another view. Tyler Reddick. So I think Gilliland may have got on the grass on the inside that unsettled his car, that sent him over into Chase Elliott, which caused that effect.
Yeah, I agree. You're going to see the 38 kind of come over, get the 9, who gets Josh Berry. Then it's a stack up behind him. I mean, look, they're 4 wide, 5 wide, trying to get across that short chute. It just doesn't work. I'm actually more astonished anytime they figure it out than I am when it actually turns into an accident.
So that was the view from Kyle Larson's HendrickCars.com Chevy. You saw him get a little shove there. That's what unsettled Gilliland. See him just clip the grass there, and then he's still trying to gather it up, and then gets into Elliott and then to Berry.
We'll add the list to 11 playoff drivers now with the issues including Truex. The 11 of Denny Hamlin gets the free pass. We'll see if that turns into any sort of points for him.
Yeah, so these late race restarts on road courses are wild. If you go back and watch this, look at the 5 car. He's trying to protect that spot. Gilliland wants the spot, contact there, right? And that little bit of contact creates, Gilliland gets slow, moves up the racetrack a little bit, but it all started because of the contest and the block. Watch right here, you can see a good view of it here. See Larson with the block right there? Gilliland had forward momentum, contact here, and now contact with the 9. It just all started trying to protect that position. No one wants to be in that second groove going up these S's. Joey Logano talked about it. There's all the marbles are built up there, so you don't want to be there. So you're trying to protect, you're trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack.
It's really been the theme of the day, right from the opening lap. And this Reese's Toyota of Martin Truex Jr., Marty, was involved. Was there any damage? What's the team saying?
There is damage. They're going to come to pit road, Lee. Before these last 2 cautions, Martin Truex Jr. was sitting in 11th and was on the right side of the cut line. As of right now, he is 18 below the cut line. Here was his reaction to that accident.
Yep, they wrecked us again, dude. It's unreal. You know, slow down for guys crashing in front of me and I get run over. Like, tell me who ran into me, Drew.
It's a 51 car.
What am I supposed to do? Where am I going? Fucking clowns the end of every race. Clowns.
Truex very upset, and to the point we talked about earlier, Lee, he told James Small, I do not know what we need to do different, but this has been so frustrating these last half of the season here.
There is James Small, his crew chief, who said, look, I think the end of our bad luck should end here. We need it to end here. And it was looking that way, Steve, for the majority of the race.
Well, and from what I've seen on the previous 2 restarts, you know, I don't know how many overtimes we could have. I think these stories are going to continue to grow.
We've been doing it radio style here at the Glen, with thanks to Jeff Burton, Dylan Welsh, and the bagman, Mike Bagley. Mike, what have you seen so far? How have you enjoyed your day?
Oh, I've had a great day. These playoff guys have not had great days, but what I'm expecting is more chaos here. Gloves are off. It's going to be a bare knuckler to settle this one this afternoon, and it should be very entertaining. Hopefully, not more than 1 overtime. Dylan, what do you think?
Well, if they make it past you for the first time in a couple restarts, there's another opportunity for it to get more physical up here by me at the end of the backstretch. The bus stop, while we haven't really seen any wrecks out here, we've certainly seen cars beating and banging off of each other all day long, and then another opportunity to make some sort of pass or a maneuver once you get out of the carousel and head towards Jeff. So, Burton, there are plenty of chances for these guys to continue to get after it for these final couple of restarts.
Oh yeah, it's wild, and you know, this reminds me, you know, we talked about over the last several years, not a lot of cautions on road courses, not a lot of action. Well, that's gone away today. We have had tons of action, and now with this late race restart, I don't have any reason to believe that we won't get another one. And you saw it's 4 wide, 5 wide, and then you have to funnel down into turn 1 and then funnel down even more into the S's. There's no reason to believe that we're going to get through here clean. Even if it's not a caution, it's not going to work out well for these last 2 laps.
I think Shane Van Gisbergen on screen He's happy to have another shot at it. I'm not sure he'd be thrilled with the way that went. He tried to get Buescher going, gave him a pretty big shove, but then it was to the disadvantage of SVG.
Yeah, that's really the challenge, right? You want to push them, but if you hit them too hard, you get some real rear wheel spin. And when you think about SVG, you know, no one questions his ability, especially here at the road courses. But, you know, these restarts are still new to him, right? He's only kind of been NASCAR racing about a year, Parker.
Yeah, as you pointed out, that Denny Hamlin got the free pass. This is the second time in this race that's happened for them. Remember, was involved in that lap 1 incident, then was involved in an incident. The S's, that car is somewhat staying together. That's their biggest fear. But as we saw with Harrison Burton, who last got the free pass, he's up to 23rd. Every point mattering, being 13 below right now. If there's more chaos, this could really pay off for Denny, Kim.
Well, Parker, William Byron was in that gnarly wreck with Brad Keselowski. He came down, the crew fixed the car as best they can. William saying the tow is not right. Something is wrong. Rudy Fugle, the crew chief, saying you're just going to have to deal with it. The strategy here is to stay on the racetrack and hope that there are additional crashes and cars end up not being able to finish the race. That's just an emphasis, Marty, on how much every point matters.
12th race of this 2024 season that has had at least one overtime. This overtime presented by Credit One Bank. Buescher on the left, Hocevar on the right, SVG on the inside alongside Ross Chastain. Here we go. Do we finish it off? Van Gisbergen tries to unsettle Buescher, puts it on the inside, gets on the gas. It's Van Gisbergen and Buescher side by side to you, Mike.
Wheel to wheel for the lead, coming to the S's, and it's SVG. He'll power past Buescher and go to the lead. Buescher now to second. Third now will be Carson Hocevar. Chastain in fourth, but SVG, your new leader in NASCAR overtime.
Top 4 breakaway. Can Chris Buescher get it regathered and try to come back for a charge at Shane Van Gisbergen? He gets into the bus stop well. The top 2 have started to squirt away from the field. Now Buescher sideways hustling that 17 car as he tries to track down Shane Van Gisbergen through the carousel. Top 2 breaking away out of 5.
It was a little bit of contact from SVG to the 17 that presented this opportunity for the lead. If Buescher can catch him, he has a permission slip now to use the same tactic, but I don't think he can. I think SVG has the fastest race car.
SVG shows his experience. 1 lap to go to figure it out. 7 corners at the Glen to try to stay clear of Chris Buescher. The battle on for third behind with Chastain and Hocevar.
And no matter what happens on this lap, the race will be determined. Do you know what? If you go back to 2012, a former NASCAR driver by the name of Marcus Ambrose drove to a spectacular victory, being hounded by Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski is one of the co-owners of the team of the car doing the chasing. Chris Buescher is hounding down Shane Van Gisbergen, who happens to be mentored by Marcus Ambrose. Marcus will be back in Australia watching this, and it's shades of Keselowski and Ambrose all over again. Buescher gets on the inside of SVG and says, "You pushed me around earlier, I'm going to give it back." Incredible on this final lap. Van Gisbergen's only got 1 real shot left at it. Maybe 2. Thinks about it into turn 6. Did Buescher save the best to last? Or has Van Gisbergen got a little payback? He gets wide. He loses it almost. He has to gather it up, but he can't do it. Chris Buescher wins at the Glen in the most spectacular style. What did we just see?
So proud of you, man. So proud of you. That was awesome. Great job, guys. Great job. Screw the day. Screw it.
The pain of missing the playoffs has just been eased with a phenomenal victory at the Glen by Chris Buescher.
Well, let's relive the battle. It starts on the restart, right? Chris Buescher and SVG, restart after restart. Buescher leads the inside lane, SVG behind, down into turn 1. Slight contact from the 16 to the 17, gets him a little out of shape, and just overcooks the corner. SVG gets to his inside and clears him up the S's.
It was on from this point. Both drivers did incredibly well, but this is where Buescher got the run, courtesy of an unforced error from SVG.
Rarely do we see it, but that's exactly what happened. 16, too much speed into the bus stop, loses the back of the car. The 16, slight contact. Look at it again, Lee. He turns in okay, but so much speed, he loses the rear, turning back to the left right there. And the 17 capitalizes and finds a way to the right of the 16. This contact right here is NASCAR racing at its finest. And then, what a set of corners to close it in. Didn't allow the 16 to get to him on board with Buescher.
This was the winning move. Mistake from Van Gisbergen. Buescher pounces, gives him a little nudge, unsettles the 16, and says, I'm coming through to get this victory.
This is why Watkins Glen sells out finish after finish after finish. It's Buescher's speed through the S's that forces this mistake. If he loses 2 car lengths up the S's, SVG knows it. He'll look in the mirror, he'll easily get in there, Jeff, but the pressure of the 17 forced the mistake out of SVG.
Look at on board a Buescher. Contact with the wall, that right there. Remember, that is a change to the racetrack. SVG so good at using all of the racetrack. That's where he gets his speed, just a little bit too much. Got on the high side of the curbs, a little bit of contact with the wall, but the high side of the curb, Steve, that's what got his car out of shape.
And what a drive by Buescher.
Let's get down there. Marty Snyder's standing by to hear from one of the nice guys of the sport, Chris Buescher, victorious here at the Glen.
There's a reason, Diff. This is the 9th straight year for a sellout here at Watkins Glen. This track continues to deliver a win a few weeks late for Chris Buescher, but I'm sure it was worth the wait. Wow, Chris, walk me through the restart with SVG, and then were you sizing up a move, and were you surprised when he sort of made that bobble?
Oh man, I was had such a good build. Summaries.com Ford Mustang. This team is so great. Long run speed was just phenomenal, and thought we lost it there in that last one, and just man, to stay right there with him. That was the spot that he was better than us, and he missed it. Missed it. So I tried to cross over, and he went to cut, and just hard race it there, but just such an awesome finish to be that good for so much at the end of the race, all race, to get a win. It's good. We came here to be spoiler. We're going to do that.
Does this eliminate some of the sting from not being in the playoffs, Chris?
Yeah, certainly. And we would have liked to have won a couple weeks ago, but this is huge. This is such a big win for us. Everybody at RFK's worked so hard, and to finally get a road course win, man. We've been so close so many times. To finally pull that off, it's fantastic.
What was that like behind the wheel when you saw him make that mistake? Did your eyes get wide and say, this is my shot?
I knew it was. I got in there deeper than I had been, and I think he was still going. So I had a good shot, or a good feeling that that it was probably going to bottom out. It's smoother, not smooth. So it was a big moment, big opportunity for us, and able to roll on by.
Parker, this team wanted to come in and play spoiler. They did it. Chris Buescher with his first ever road course win in the Cup Series.
And what an incredible battle, Marty, catching up here with Shane Van Gisbergen. You were leading there into the bus stop. What happened? What was that mistake?
Driver error, yeah. I knew Chris was really going to send it and push me if he could get there. And as I turned in, got a bit loose and clipped the inside wall and just driver error. I'm gutted. Weather Tech tomorrow was really good. The race was awesome with Ross and Chris and the others at the end. I'm gutted we couldn't get it, but I had a lot of fun, but I'm pretty angry at myself.
I see you smiling, though, through the anger there. You used the bumper down in turn one. He used the bumper there into the carousel. Is that fair play there since you used it into one?
I think so, yeah. It was just a little bump to get him wide, and I knew I was gonna get it back, so that's why I was pushing so hard, and it is what it is, but just gutted.
You can tell, guys, it was a crazy race, an awesome race, but he's still smiling there in finishing second.
That was one to remember. Unreal final lap by both drivers. And Chris Buescher was denied a win to get into the playoffs back in Kansas by 1,000th of a second. He gets his revenge here by winning at the Glen, his first road course victory. First win in just over a year. And it's pretty big for RFK as well, having multiple race winners in a single year. But this one will go down big. It stings for Shane Van Gisbergen. It tastes great for Chris Buescher. What a day at the Glen. We're far from done. We've got a whole lot more to come. That's why this is an annual classic. How good was that? The Go Bowling at the Glen, won by the Texan, Chris Buescher. The NASCAR America post-race show presented by Progressive. And boy, is there a lot to unpack on what went down here in the Finger Lakes area of New York. So picturesque, and this is a pretty interesting picture.
The playoff drive of the day for me goes to Chase Briscoe. Comes in 21 points below, will leave 6 points above. And 11th, Denny Hamlin, who could have dreamt it, below the cut line. And how about Austin Cindric at plus 43? And then Martin Truex Jr. came in 19 below, leaves 14 below, but way more to the story.
Yeah, Steve, I think Martin and I have been talking about the bad luck this team has had for about 2 months now, and it looked like for a while it would turn around. Martin, kind of walk me through what you saw there at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, you know, our research Camry was, it was solid. Needed to be better on long runs for sure, but, you know, we worked hard, persevered, and had good strategy, I think, to, you know, have a decent day. And, you know, you just, as always, you get to the cautions at the end, and guys just drive right through you. So a mistake on my part to pick the outside lane on the restart, and then, you know, just got pushed 3 or 4 wide in the S's and in the marbles, and then that was the first the first restart, and then the green-white checker got pushed up in the marbles again, and then run into from behind and wrecked. So luckily we got some tires at the end and passed a few, passed like 6 cars in the last restart. But it's just crazy that you know, all these races always come down to this, and I don't really understand, you know, how guys can call themselves, you know, the best in the world when they just drive through everyone on restarts at the end of these races. So it's very frustrating, but yeah, it is what it is these days. So I'm out of here.
Yeah, minus 14, they'll go to Bristol, but remember, finished second there, so certainly not a must-win scenario for them, Lee, next weekend at Bristol. They have been very good there in the past.
You know, Lee, there's a lot of drivers I would question because I don't think that they talk the talk and walk the walk, not Martin Truex Jr. He questions what all those other drivers do because rarely, if ever, do you see the 19 just driving through cars. He always attempts to pass, and you can see the frustration building. He seems to be at the wrong end of these deals time and time again.
All right, well, we are, as you can see, there is the cat in the hat. Jack Roush is there in victory lane. What a special sight for the RFK racing team. We're going to go around to the purchase, but we're going to go the reverse way around the track. We're going to kick it off with Jeff Burton. Jeff, what were your thoughts over there in turn 6? You saw that spectacular end of SVG getting sideways, trying to get back on Buescher.
I mean, look, it was just great racing all day long, and it got aggressive. It got a little bit out of hand from time to time, but that is what NASCAR racing is. This today was more of a traditional NASCAR race that we've seen on road courses, contact, cautions, and now that this is over, we go to Bristol, and no one, you know, there are so many people that still have a shot to make this top 12 to advance to the next round. I think it just continues next week.
And Jeff, you talked about it during the race that this round presents so much uncertainty. We saw it today. We'll see it next week again. A guy we thought was a sure thing to win this race in the closing laps, and Shane Van Gisbergen not able to hold off Chris Buescher, who, by the way, has won the Bristol night race before. So can't wait to watch next week, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Mike, as we conclude this first round.
We all had questions about what Watkins Glen was going to do in the playoffs. It was a huge shake-up race today. Cannot wait to get to Bristol next weekend. And we can't wait to talk about it tomorrow morning on the Morning Drive on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio at 7 a.m.
It's an early start for you, Bagman. Thanks, guys, for being out there on the perches. And what a treat. From the first lap to the very last, it gave us so many spectacular moments. The NASCAR America post-race show is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle auto, home, or motorcycle insurance. Visit progressive.com. Let's take a look at this week's Progressive Safe Driver. This should be interesting. Were there many today?
I guess I'll give it to the front 3. I'm going to give it to all 3 at the front because they found a way to get by and put on a show. I know it took a while to get the restarts going, But in the end, we get to see, and the fans got to see 2 finishes, or 2 laps to the finish. Jeff Burton called it right there. You saw the contact with the guardrail. I really thought that SVG was going to get a run right here between the left and the right. He got a little bit loose and ends up being Chris Buescher. 1/1000th of a second at Kansas. That's what held him out of the playoffs.
And it was less than 1 second, the margin of victory. It was Buescher over Van Gisbergen. And Kim Kuhn with the man who finished 3rd, Carson Hocevar.
And Carson Hocevar comes home in the 3rd position in his first Cup start at Watkins Glen. That restart, is there anything you could have done differently? And what were you doing and thinking watching the first 2 battle?
Have bigger gonads to drive it down in deeper like I probably should have. I knew how bad this car was yesterday. We were 38th, we were horrible, but this Mattress Warehouse 77 team was really, really strong, and I did everything I could to have leverage, and then I decided to just give away all my leverage. A little frustrating with myself, but you know, I reminded this team, and Luke is such a good leader of this Mattress Warehouse 77 bunch that you know, he reminds us that I'm going to be this much better, and if we could get in the playoffs next year when this race matters, we're going to have a really good notebook, but also too, I'm going to be better, and the team's going to be better to capitalize when that opportunity comes again.
Career best finish in the Cup Series for Carson Hocevar.
Ty Gibbs finishes 22nd here today. You were able to get stage points in stage 2. Take us through your day. There was a lot of chaos out there.
Yeah, a lot of chaos for sure. You know, we were just not good today, and fought to have a good points day, but you know, wish we could have had a better finish totally, and you know, had a better points day, but it's just part of it. Hopefully we learn and come back better. Just not a good day.
So you came in here +1 above the cut line. You're now +6, so there was some improvement. What do you have to do at Bristol next week?
Yeah, I think we were really solid the last 2 races, so hopefully we can have a good race this weekend and this coming weekend and have great points day. I feel like we're solid enough there to go win the last 2 times we were there, so hopefully we can get over that step and go win it. So thank you to CW, thank you to Toyota, Monster Energy. Wish you had a better day.
It's going to be a high-pressure Bristol for the 54 team.
Well, I'm not sure how to summarize the first 2 playoff races for Denny Hamlin. Can you describe the level of frustration with what happened today, Denny?
No, I mean, yeah, it's just a couple races where, you know, things out of your control just didn't go well. Yeah, I mean, the first lap, I mean, you know, certainly I got to take responsibility for what I did on Saturday, which is not qualifying well, right? And so that's on me, and certainly that put us right in the middle of where wrecks usually happen, and we got shoved into it.
Yeah, so let's talk about Bristol coming up next week. -6 below the cut line. Clearly not a must-win scenario at all, but what's the confidence level knowing you've won, number 1, back-to-back races, but number 2, how good you guys were on the tire there in the spring?
We'll be fine. I have no doubts that we're going to be good and up front and control our own destiny.
Have you ever been through a stretch like this in your career, Denny, especially in the playoffs?
No, not really, but we haven't really had tracks like this in the playoffs for the most part. Usually, you know, you've got road courses and super speedways and a lot of them, but you don't have as many in the playoffs as what we have this year. So it's making for a lot of attrition, and certainly, you know, some good cars there below the cut line that, you know, likely will get eliminated.
Well, they've called Bristol their house. He's going to have to go there and gain some points. Currently -6 below the cut line for Denny Hamlin.
And Chase Briscoe comes home in the 6th position. Bigger than that, you made up a deficit. Came in this race -21. You leave +6. You were in stage points in both stages. How big was this day for you and the team?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, that's what we needed to do, right? Was score stage points, run good in the race, and we were able to do that. So, yeah, really good, solid day for highpoint.com Ford. Felt like I could have got a couple more points, but just didn't want to risk it there at the end. I knew I was in a pretty good position compared to a lot of the field. So, yeah, I did what we needed to do. Just need to go do that same thing next week. You know, just hit singles and doubles and don't do anything crazy. As long as we just execute all day long, it should be enough. So just go on to Bristol and see what we can do.
A massive turnaround, and in his words, doing what he needed to do. Well, what about Chris Buescher and RFK Racing with the legend Jack Roush standing down in front of him in victory lane? What an awesome performance as we get ready to go to Bristol.
Yeah, it's not on accident that they have Bristol as the cutoff race for the first round of our playoffs.
The atmosphere of Bristol is just unlike any other.
I'm ready to rip somebody's freaking head off.
If you're close or outside looking in, you got to be pretty aggressive and not just survive. You have to conquer it.
Bristol, baby, hell yeah! What a race! Let's go! Yeah! Oh, yeah! That's awesome. Bristol night, baby!
Hell yeah, boys. Great work, DH. For the love of the game, it is the Bristol night race. Yes!
And remember that next weekend, starting on Friday, NASCAR Countdown Live begins on the CW. And the racing as well begins on the CW as Shane Van Gisbergen congratulates the RFK racing crew. Saturday, Countdown to Green, 7 p.m. Eastern, and then the Cup Series playoff, the first cut race of the playoffs. Yes, it's the end of the round of 16, determining the round of 12.
What a place to end the regular season for Xfinity. We'll set those playoff fields for that series on Friday night. And then Saturday, you know, so much effort to make the playoffs, so much chaos in the playoffs. First ever playoff race without a playoff driver inside the top 5. That's what happened today at Watkins Glen. I don't think it's going to be the same way at Bristol. I think it's going to be a heavyweight battle. I don't think it's going to be as chaotic and some non-playoff guys. I like what Denny Hamlin said. It's time to show up.
Several hours ago, I said to you, will we remember Watkins Glen as one of the pivotal races? The answer is
absolutely.
So great to have you with us. What a day. NASCAR and motorsports coverage is available, as always, on NBCSports.com. Coming up next here on USA, it's Law and Order SVU. We say congratulations to Chris Buescher. And on behalf of the entire team, this is Lee Diffie saying, have a great week.